All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Thank you for attending the Business Plan Competition Workshop number 2. Just as a friendly reminder, please follow us on social media. We have an Instagram and Facebook. Dallas will be updating with important updates. And if you have anything special for us to share, we would be happy to do that on our story for you. Today, we have some really great speakers. It's going to be a quick one. We've got Jim Matuga up first. We have Mike Queen here talking about the Secretary of State's website today. They're going to be talking about some new programs through Huntington Bank and some exciting opportunities for you guys. We've got Kevin Combs. I'm going to be interviewing him. And we're going to be talking about how to become investable and how to do that pitch. And then we have a past winner, Andrew Rhodes from 2 years ago, who's going to talk about his experience and his experience through COVID. So he opened up his business and then COVID hit, and he has been very successful in navigating those waters. So exciting times to hear from him. Just some general notes, the same things as last time. If possible, please have your camera on. These guys want to see your faces. And please feel free to ask questions. They are very nice and they will not make fun of you. All questions are welcome. All right, so I am going to send it over to Jim Matuga, who is the owner of Interaction Media. Jim, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Tara. It's awesome to be here. I really appreciate this opportunity. I've been involved with the business plan competition over the years, and this is my first time presenting, especially talking about marketing, which is something I have a real passion for. Is it okay that we go through? I know we have the list of the folks, but I don't know anybody who's connected to what business. Is it possible we could just have everybody go around the horn and just introduce them and the name of their company?
I don't know why, but
yeah, so let's just call someone. I'm going to call one person out, and then after the person talks, then you go ahead and pick the next person, so everyone's not trying to talk at the same time.
Awesome. That'd be helpful just to put a name with the company.
Absolutely. So Megan Print, you are off mute, so I am going to start with you. If you could please introduce yourself, mute, and then pick someone else to go, and then mute yourself. So Megan.
I'm Megan Pritt. I'm from Nicholas County Career and Technical Center in Nicholas County, West Virginia. And basically my business was to create a locally grown, agricultural promoted restaurant. And what I'm wanting to do is, here in the state of West Virginia, a lot of times we don't focus on our agricultural development and we don't focus that back to our economic growth. So what I'm wanting to do is get involved with the local farmers that do lettuce, tomatoes, cattle, chickens, and stuff like that, and be able to not only promote their farms, but also promote my business and allow for us to have expansion in the state of West Virginia.
Awesome, Megan. What's the name of your company?
Hilltop Farms.
Hilltop Farms. All right, great.
And I will defer over to Jordan Morris.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Jordan Morris, and let's see, let me pull my mask down here. So my business was to have a pampering center, and it would be discounted in West Virginia, because I know most people in West Virginia, they don't make that much money. And I know that it would be really good to have pampering for not the highest price, and the main people would be the people just coming out of college. So it would be a way for them to not only gain experience and have an income, but to also gain experience as the business owner, because I would be teaching them how to run a business, purchase supplies, get clientele, and stuff, things of that nature.
Awesome, Jordan. What's the name of your company?
It'd be Discounted Pampering.
Oh, okay, good.
Faith? I'm going to defer to Faith.
Hello, my name is Faith Lipscomb. I'm 17 years old and I go to the Nicholas County Career and Technical Center. And my idea for my business plan was for an aviation museum. And this museum would be the very one and only aviation museum in West Virginia, which will be amazing. I mean, it's a great part of our history, very overlooked because we have Chuck Yeager, Katherine Johnson, and I just really want to inspire and educate and empower these young people, these young West Virginians, and teach them about aviation, introduce them, show them it's an amazing field.
Awesome. What was your name again?
Faith Lipscomb.
Awesome.
I will sorry, I can't tell who else is on here.
Did you get everyone from your crew?
Sorry, what?
Did you get everyone from Tanya's class covered? Because I know you guys were watching together.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, let's go to Andrew Percy.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Andrew. I'm at WU as an engineering student. My business is Still City Strings, which is an electric violin company. The violins utilize magnetic pickups, as well as a low-power vacuum tube preamp. And it's kind of one of the first electric violin companies to incorporate all of those components into one instrument.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. Oh, let's see. How about Emma Adams? You're up.
Hi, my name is Emma Adams, and I'm an animal and nutritional sciences major from WVU. And I'm in the collegiate competition with my company, Pet Record, which is essentially a new system for animal health record and history storage and transmission.
Awesome.
And I'm seeing a Caleb Currents below me, so I will defer to you if that's okay.
Yep, thank you. So my name is Caleb Currents. I am the owner currently of Charmco Custom Rods. So I build fishing rods by hand. I'm a full-time fishing guide. Typically through the summer and through the winter, I build rods on the side, and I actually sell them at the Greenbrier Resort. I go to West Virginia State University and business administration major.
Awesome, Caleb. We have to get together because I may be a good customer for you.
Oh, yeah? Well, I can build some rods, whatever you like.
All right. I like the bass fish and trout fish, so we'll definitely have to get together.
I guide for both of those. I can definitely build you one.
Awesome.
If Claire, I don't know if Claire Pollock has went.
My idea is a nonprofit to assist people in opening daycare centers and childcare centers because everywhere has so much trouble with accessible and affordable daycares. And West Virginia has a big problem with employment. And a lot of that can come from parents who can't afford to send their child to daycare, so they can't work. And it's called the West Virginia Child Care Business Incubator.
Awesome. Thanks, Claire.
Oh, and I'll go to Michelle.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle, and I am a sophomore at Shepherd University, majoring in business admin. And my idea is to create a cafe that focuses on products and also being sustainable. So we want to use, like for to-go items, we would like to use recyclable things and also kind of focus on composting as well.
Very cool. What's the name of your business, Michelle?
Wildflower.
Okay, I thought that's what it might be. It was on the list there, but I wanted to make sure. Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome. I think I'll choose Sharon.
Sharon Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon is a teacher, so
Sorry.
She's
Then-
that's
awesome,
okay.
I believe.
I don't know who hasn't gone.
Reggie, have you gone?
No.
No. So I'm Reggie. I go to Marshall University. I'm majoring in business management. And my business is basically a roller skating rink that has different, well, more than just a normal oval that you see at other roller skating rinks. That's obviously not in the state because West Virginia doesn't have any. Well, we do, but not that much. So We're just called Retro Rollers.
Cool. Thanks, Reggie.
You're welcome. Who else hasn't gone? iPhone 2.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Shelby Schumann, and I go to South Harrison High School in Harrison County. I actually opened my own business at 17. It's called Sunny Days Boutique. So I've had it for about a year now. What I do is I buy merchandise pallets and I sell them on my online auction page. I sell them for discounted prices, and I have my website is on Facebook, and I have about 800 followers now.
That's awesome. It's kind of like arbitrage selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
All right.
Oh, okay. I think everybody's went.
Ryan Snyder, I know I saw you join late. If you are available to chat, can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Yeah, sorry I'm late. We are traveling this week and we actually ended up in a different time zone and didn't realize our phone reset and now. Anyway, yeah, sorry about that. I'm Ryan Snyder. My business partner, Maddie, is here too. We're founders of Mountain Country Farms. We plan on producing, processing, and distributing fresh meats into school systems in our hometown and the county surrounding. We're going to operate the only state commercial inspected processing facility in that area.
That's awesome. Very cool. I don't think we've heard from Alex.
No, not yet. Hi, how are you doing? My name is Alex. Akshay and I are co-founders of Divvy, which is a peer-to-peer lending platform, which is kind of like decentralized microloans, which, yeah, that's basically it. Akshay, if you want to add anything, you can.
Awesome. And we have Sites and Butler Stock Brokerage. I'm not sure who that is.
Okay, they just typed in the
They don't have a
chat.
microphone. They don't have a microphone. Okay. Has everybody had a chance to go? I think we got everybody in there. Is everybody gone? If you haven't.
I haven't gone.
Who is that speaking?
I'm Sarah Ball. I'm from the University of Charleston. I'm a pre-PA major. My business is called Wireless Telemetry, and we're, in simple terms, trying to make the EKGs in hospitals completely wireless for the patient.
Oh, MedTech. Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think that's everybody then.
I haven't gone either.
Oh, who is this speaking?
My name is Brianna Parsons. I'm a pre-med major at Concord University, and I'm working with Reggie with the Retro Rollers.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Very good. Well, it's great to meet you guys. And the reason I wanted to hear your story is just to get to know you a little bit. I'm very encouraged just by hearing all that. I'm a huge advocate for small business and entrepreneurs in West Virginia. And I'm just thrilled to be here. Tara, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to this awesome group of young people. I'm a little jealous. We didn't have this business plan competition when I was in college. I went to WVU, graduated in 1988. Seems like a long time ago, but it's just a pleasure to be here with you guys today. Before we get started, I want to kind of let you know what I hope to accomplish with my presentation today. And it's just a couple of things. And just to kind of keep this in mind, I want to give you some insight into marketing your business idea, maybe a little bit better. Okay. I don't know that I can promise that, but that's something that I hope to do today. I want to share some practical things that you can do today to help you tell a more compelling story about your business concept. That's something that I do every day for our clients. And I'll tell you a little bit about my company here in a minute. I want to equip you with some fundamental business wisdom that's been passed down to me. I've had a lot of great business mentors along my career, and I just hope to pass along some of that wisdom to you guys. And last but not least, I want to give you some encouragement to go actually out and start your business. I think Shelby said that she already started her business at the age of 17. I think I got that right. I hope I did. I was trying to take some fast notes, but I think that's awesome. And what a time to be alive as a young person, somebody who has an entrepreneurial spirit, somebody who wants to start a business, somebody who wants to change the world. It's an awesome time to be doing that. And I'm going to also say in West Virginia, I think West Virginia is absolutely poised to do some amazing things as we come out of this pandemic. So that's just a couple of things that I wanted to do that. But Tara, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Let me know if you guys can see my, I have just a short slide deck here I want to share with you guys. You guys can see it? Okay, cool. So I want to tell you a little bit about, my company, just and a little bit about me, just a little bit. I hate to talk about myself, but I want to establish some baseline subject matter authority. So you guys aren't sitting there going, who in the heck is this guy to tell me how to tell a story? And I also want to give you some idea that I have empathy for what you're going through as an entrepreneur. I personally am a small business owner as well. And I want to be able to share that empathy and that subject matter expertise that I have with you guys. So this is my company, Interaction Media. And like Tara said, I'm rocking the brand. I have my backdrop here. I'm in my podcast studio. I got my little vest on this morning. So yeah, I'm a big believer in my company. And I want to tell you a little bit about that. I started it in 2011. Much like you guys, I had an idea. Had been going through my career in media here in West Virginia, working for a variety of different companies. And I just said, if I'm going to do this dream that I have, starting my own business, I got to do it now before it's too late. And I was able to jump out in 2011 and start my own company, Interaction Media. We're based in Morgantown. We have an office in downtown Clarksburg and one also in Oakland, Maryland, which is in Garrett County, just across the Preston County border there. We're a marketing and advertising agency. We've won numerous Telly Awards, which are nationally recognized as excellence in video production. We're a HubSpot Gold certified agency, which is if you know anything about marketing software, HubSpot is the premier software platform, and we're the only Gold certified agency in West Virginia. And we have a formal partnership with WV News Distribution Network. I sold part of my company back in 2019 to Brian Jarvis. Brian is an attorney and an entrepreneur, owns a vast media network in West Virginia. Some of the services we offer, I'm not going to go through all those, but you can see we do just about everything that a traditional advertising and marketing agency does. One thing that we really got into recently is podcast production, and we're actually selling that as a service, and live streaming video, which is this time last year, we weren't selling any of those. So just to kind of think about how the pandemic changed business, live streaming video and podcast production, they're huge. And just to give you some depth as to the types of clients we serve in West Virginia, there's just a few of those, just wanted to share those with you. So what I want to share with you guys today really is a little bit about telling effective stories. And so we've developed this thing since we started the company. It's called our brand story framework, and we've adapted it from Donald Miller's famous book, Building a Story Brand. And so we were doing a lot of what he references in his book ever since we started the company in 2011. When he wrote the book, it just kind of made everything a little bit more clear for us. And we've adapted some of the things that we do into his terminology. So I like to start with, what is marketing? You guys are smart people. You're entrepreneurs. You're starting companies. You kind of know what marketing is. I'm kind of a simple thinker. And what I like to talk about marketing is it's talking to the right people at the right time with the right message. And those three things, when you get that right, it's magic. So why is story so important for your business? I like to talk about this in a lot of ways. And some of the things that I think about are, and I just want you to think about this in your own anecdotal way. People buy things, whether it's a product or a service. People buy things almost always because they heard something or read some words that made them want to buy the thing. Okay. So you think about that. It could be, these days, a Google review. It could be a Facebook review. It could be an Instagram post. It could be a TikTok video. It could be a TV commercial. It could be a billboard. It could be word of mouth. A referral from a friend says, hey, you got to try this thing out. You see something in a movie and you say, I want that product. So the words that you hear or the words that you read make you buy things. And it's the way we talk about our products and services that actually sell them. And in other words, they compel people to buy the stuff that we're selling. Those words, I'm convinced, are what we call the story of our brand. It's the message. So when I talk about talking to the right people at the right time with the right message, it's all about the story. And honestly, when it comes down to it, we need to be able to tell stories that help our potential customers, whether they're interested in childcare or they're buying a fishing rod. We need to help tell stories that help the customer survive and thrive. So that's kind of my take on why story is so important. So I want to begin with 8 steps. We have a total of 8 steps. And step number 1 is the customer is the hero of the story, not your brand. Your brand is simply the guide on the story. And to kind of illustrate this, I'd like to just kind of get you guys to think a little bit about this for a minute. When you flip the narrative of your marketing to making the hero of the story your customer, it is impactful. How many times have we seen it done the wrong way? Okay. And I think about this I've been doing advertising in West Virginia since 1988. I mean, it's been a long time. And I've seen so many terrible examples of this where companies are actually talking about, hey, you go to their website and it talks about, we've been in business for 14 years. We have 80 employees. We've won the Chamber of Commerce Business of the Year. We're the best of Morgantown. We're the best of West Virginia. And they talk about themselves. And while those things are important to the overall backstory, that's not what the consumer wants to hear. The consumer wants to know, what in the heck's in it for me? What are you going to do for me? What problem are you going to solve for me? And so many companies and so many brands out there talk about themselves when they really should be talking about the hero of the story, which is their customer. And so how do you flip that narrative? Think about that. It's this really unique way of telling a story. If we just do that one thing, I'm convinced that we can make a difference in the way that our companies are perceived and the success of our organizations as well. So number 2, we as brands, we as companies tend to sell solutions to external problems. Those are the surface issues. Customers buy solutions to internal problems, those deeper, more personal fears or frustrations. So think about it this way, when you're talking about the customer problem, what is the root cause of that problem? Are they experiencing fear? Are they experiencing lack of confidence? Are they experiencing desire? Okay, rather than trying to sell them, hey, they need a new whatever, they need to go to this new roller skating rink. How are you going to make them feel about their deeper issue that they may having, like more connection with their family, for instance? All right, so these are some examples of how we should be talking to folks to solve their internal problem rather than the surface issue, the external problem. Step number 3, customers aren't looking for another hero. They're looking for a guide. And this is where you come in. We've set up the problem. We know what the customer is facing, what their fear is, maybe their anxiety, maybe the problem that they're facing in their life. And they're not looking for another hero. They're looking for somebody to help them. And that's where your company comes in. That's where your brand can come alongside them and say, look, we have the expertise, we have the experience, we have 2 things that I'd mentioned already when I was trying to set up my talk: empathy and authority. We know how you feel. We've been there. We've helped other patients. I'm talking about, like, if you're a healthcare company, we've helped other patients through this problem. We can help you as well. We've demonstrated authority and our competency by solving other customers' problems in a way that few have done. So we understand how you feel. We understand the things that you're going through, the problems that you're facing, and we have the authority to help you do that. Step number 4 is customers trust a guide who has a plan. You have the plan to help them get them what they need and want. And so I think about this a lot. And I think, I use the analogy sometimes when I'm giving this talk about Mount Everest. And, if you've ever heard of stories of folks who climb Mount Everest, you have to have a Sherpa, which is an experienced, seasoned guide to get you to the top, get you from base camp to base camp and then to the summit. And, do you really want to have a guide who you show up and they're sipping some coffee and they're like, hey guys, you ready to go? We could either take the east face or we could take the west face. I don't know, whatever you guys want to do. Or do you want to have a guide that says, hey guys, listen, I've looked at the weather forecast. We're definitely taking this path and here's why. And not only that, I've got provisions. If something happens along the way, we're fully equipped. Don't worry, I've got this. Of course, you want the guide who has the plan. So you have to be able to demonstrate that in terms of the initial assessment to see if you can first help them. And then number two, talk to them about how you can help them. Step number 5, I think, is a really good one, and it's an important one, and it's often missed. And I think about this a lot when I'm dealing with our clients that we help. How do we help folks, call them into action? And the premise is that customers, whether that's a product or service, don't take action unless they're challenged to take action. So we should therefore call them to action. And there's a wide variety of ways to do this. It could just simply be a buy now button on your website. How many people struggle to find your buy now button on your website or your Facebook marketplace or Facebook market site where you're selling your products or services? So make it easy for them. Make sure that you're asking them to take an action. And it's kind of neat because I think there's 2 types of actions that we typically see out there. And this is maybe as you're thinking about your business, how you can help folks, call them to action. There's a transactional call to action, which is, buy now or subscribe here or, get our newsletter, opt in to our inbound marketing funnel. Or there can also be a transitional transaction, or call to action. So you have the transactional, which is the buy or subscribe, but the transitional could be something like learn more, or maybe they're not ready to buy. Maybe you have a high dollar, maybe your fishing rod's $500 and people haven't been convinced to click the buy button, but they can learn more about your product and opt in, and you can obviously nurture that lead until they become a customer. So I think it's important to always have a call to action in your marketing and make sure that you're doing it on a consistent basis. Step number 6 is this is kind of a neat paradigm if you think about it. Every human being is trying to avoid a tragic ending. So our job as marketers, our job as brands is to show them how to do that as it relates to their project or product. So take for instance, you have a company that is trying to solve a need, but you know what the end looks like if they don't buy your product, right? Whatever that might be, you have to show them what that means to have the opposite of the tragic ending. In other words, success. I mentioned it earlier on. Our job as marketers is to help our customers not only survive, but to thrive. And that goes to this very point. Every human being is trying to avoid a tragic ending. And so we just have to show them how to do it. And we demonstrate that through our expertise and empathy. Number 7 is another good one that I feel like we oftentimes forget about in marketing. We just assume that people understand how our brand can change. And I am of the opinion that we should never assume that people understand how your brand can change their lives, how your company, your product, your service can change their lives. We have to tell them. And then we have to tell them again and again and again and again and again. And that repetition, that frequency, as we call it in the advertising world, that frequency is the key ingredient. So we have to understand how we help them solve their problem, how we help them survive and thrive, but also we got to do it on a repetitive basis. And that brings me to my last point, which is amplify your message. When I talked about how we help brands simplify, clarify, and amplify their message, and I want to just park on this point. This is the final point in the story process. How do we amplify? Okay, and you heard me talk about marketing is talking to the right people at the right time with the right message. The timing is everything. So once we've identified our target audience, we understand who they are, we understand how we help them, we understand them, we understand what we do to help them overcome an issue and how we actually help them. Now we have to amplify it and we have to get the word out there. And there's so many ways to do that these days based on your budget. It sounds like a couple of folks have some nonprofit organizations, and that doesn't mean you have to have a small budget. Sometimes it does. As a startup, I understand access to capital, especially marketing dollars, is a difficult thing, but there's a lot of ways to get your message out there today. One of the things that I'm big on right now, I mentioned it a minute ago, is podcasting. I'm actually sitting in my podcast studio right now. We're getting ready to go live here in a few hours with a statewide podcast that we do called our Positively West Virginia statewide mastermind group, where we bring a group of people around the table to talk about issues. Podcasts are incredibly successful and very valuable, especially if you have a very niche market. Say, for instance, you're going after healthcare executives. There's a lot of podcasts that they're aimed right toward them, and you can become a guest on their show, or sponsor a podcast. Those kinds of things are great. Social media obviously is the hot thing right now, and has been for the last 8 or 9 years. Social media marketing is very, very important. Influencer marketing is very important, but there's also traditional media. I want to encourage you not to walk away from things such as print and television advertising. Those can be very effective as well. And there's a lot of ways that you can go about getting publicity, getting eyeballs on your message, if you will, and ears on your message through media, through earned media. In other words, media releases, trade journals, making sure that folks are talking about your company, submitting that. Being a squeaky wheel today in the media business goes a long way. In other words, if you have a message, get out there and talk to the right people, and they will help you get that word out there. So amplifying the message is extremely important, whether it's through paid media or earned media, or owned media. Your platform, your social media channels are extremely important. You're having a digital presence and making sure that your website's built for search engine optimization. All those kinds of things are kind of givens. I'm kind of glossing over those, but they're extremely important. And I think those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about today with regard to that. Now, at this point, I would love to entertain some questions that you guys might have regarding marketing, and maybe even your 30-second pitch. It was interesting in prepping for this. I was trying to think of how can I help you guys? And one of the things that I thought about was we have a simple process of helping folks to develop the 30-second pitch. And that's kind of why I wanted to hear what you guys were all about, and giving you an opportunity to kind of talk a little bit about your businesses and companies. And I love the enthusiasm in your voices, and the opportunity just to hear what you're saying. And I would love to open it up for some Q&A, and maybe I can help you simplify and clarify your messages as well.
Just a quick question, if I may. So you did a really great job of breaking this down in a straightforward process, but what would you say is the number one mistake that companies make trying to go about this?
That's a good one. Well, I think the number one problem that I see is this: most people just don't do it. They just don't do it. You would be surprised. I mentioned my podcast, and I'm going to give a shameless plug. It's called Positively West Virginia. And I've been doing this since 2017. And every week I interview a couple of business owners. These are West Virginia companies. Okay. And some of them are family businesses that have been passed down through generations. Some are startups, just like you guys are doing. As a matter of fact, I've had a couple of folks on the podcast who are past business plan competition winners. And it's always encouraging for me to talk to them and have them on the show as well. Jessica Temple with Shake It Out. I believe she was a finalist a couple of years ago. Tara, you could help me with that I think she was. Jordan Masters with Allegheny Genesis, and Eric Watkins was, I think, one of the first winners back in 2012. So I've had them on just to talk about their entrepreneurial journey. And I love, my process on that is basically the story process. So I make them the hero. I'm simply the guide in the process. I want them to have an opportunity to talk about their journey of starting a company and what it means and how they go about it. And it's funny, Emma, that I ask every guest on the show, I say, give us your 30-second pitch. In other words, what is it you tell people that you do in 30 seconds? And they go, oh, and they ramble on. And like 2 minutes later, I'm going, okay, well, break that down into like a couple of sentences. And then inevitably every business owner, I feel, struggles with that. And there are a few. There's a couple on this call today that had it nailed down. I mean, it was like 2 sentences, and I understood exactly what they did. But if you can do that and just take the time and really focus on that. And I have something I could send to Tara. I sent you guys the 8 bullet points there as a little handout for her to send out. And I have a little framework to develop your 30-second pitch. If that would be helpful, I could send that to her and you can distribute that as well. But it basically breaks it down to 3 steps. And number 1, who do you help? If you could just understand who that is, who is the person that you can help, and build we call them personas. So it's a customer persona, and there may be multiple personas that you have for your company, right? Hey, we want to do I'm thinking about the roller skating rink, retro rollers. We want to do birthday parties. That's an audience, right? We want to do date nights. That's an audience. We might want to do this. And so you might have multiple personas for your brand, but understand, who do you help? That's step 1. Step number 2 is, what do you help them overcome? What is that issue that they're facing, like I talked about? And if you can narrow that down to like a line or a sentence or 2, that's huge. And then how do you help them? Put that empathy in there, put that that subject authority in there, build your empathy and authority, and be able to say, here's how we help you overcome the problem that you're experiencing. And if you could just do those 3 things, man, I'm telling you, it's huge, because it directs everything. It directs everything in your messaging. And like I said, and I'm kind of making this story the kind of like the important thing. There's lots of things that go into marketing, and I could probably speak for 5 hours on that. And plus, you guys know a lot about marketing already. But I just want to emphasize the story and getting it down. I think it's so important. The messaging, just think about our own lives. How many messages we hear a day, right? It's thousands, marketing messages that you're bombarded with. How do you break through the clutter? My point is, you have to have a clear, simple message that identifies the problem and compels somebody to take action. I hope that answered your question, Emma.
It does. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Jim, I'll just say, whenever you were talking about some of those past finalists and talking about Eric Watkins, he actually went through the competition twice. He made it to the finals his first year and lost and was mad, and came back and he won. And I don't know if you remember this, but his tagline was cheaper than a DUI. Yep. And everyone always talked to me about that just stuck out in their mind. It was just one of those things, cheaper than a DUI, because he was a service where he had a scooter, put it in your car, and then would drive your car home, and then he would drive the scooter back to get the next car. That was an interesting concept, and it was one of those brands that really stuck with you.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. I've had a relationship with Eric for a long time. When he won that business plan competition, I had a co-working space, which was back in 2011 was kind of like a brand new idea in West Virginia. We were the first co-working space. Now it's kind of a normal thing around the world. But I gave Eric a year's free rent to help him start his company. And so I'd come into the office in the morning and he'd be like laying on a couch and he'd have that fold up motorbike in the conference room. I'm like, "Do you have a rough night today?" He's like, "Yeah." It was kind of neat seeing his experience and walking with him through that journey.
Well, we were very glad that you did that for him, because he was kind of living at the College of Business until you gave him space. So we were happy to send him to High Street with you.
Yeah, that's funny. That's good. I'd love to hear from some of you other guys or guys and gals out there that any questions you might have. Certainly love talking about this stuff. Tara put the links to the podcast up there on the chat too. I appreciate that.
Andrew, why don't you tell Jim your story where you did your recorded pitch? So they had to do a 2-minute elevator pitch for the semifinals, the college students did, and Andrew has an interesting story from his.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that for sure.
Oh boy. So I'm a National Guardsman in West Virginia.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And so we're based out of Morgantown. I'm part of the Field Artillery Unit there.
Awesome.
And we got the call about DC. What was that? Early February. And originally, I'm also an ROTC, so I'm like running the gambit on both sides. I'm commissioning in May. And originally, my chain of command in ROTC didn't want me to go. And I pushed to go because I figured it'd be a really good experience for me as a future officer. And it was just one of those like historic events I didn't want to miss, and I wanted to be with my guys. So I ended up missing the first couple weeks of school. It was only supposed to be the first week, and then they extended it a couple weeks. So I thought, oh, I'll go for a week and then I'll come back, finish up my pitch. But ended up being there through the deadline for the semifinals. So I completed my pitch in my uniform because I didn't have any other clothes with me. In a hotel kind of against a blank wall, so I didn't give away like my location or anything else. And
that's great.
This is what I got. I'm working with what I have. And you know, I just did the best that I could with what situation I was in.
That's very cool. So Andrew, as I recall, Steel City Strings?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's an electric violin, as I understand. So who is your target audience? Who's your customer?
So my target audience, at least to start, is musicians that are just starting to get into live music, which is generally going to be college age, or, you know, young adult. So my first, like, I would probably focus on some of the colleges up on the Northeast, Boston, Berklee College of Music. There's like 5 music colleges within like 10 blocks that I could literally drive up and just sell a bunch of them almost immediately. So that.
What's the price point?
Say that again?
The price point.
That is still in the works. I'm on like my 3rd version of a prototype currently, and I just finalized everything in CAD. So I'm going to start milling everything out.
Super cool. What's it made of?
So there's a couple different materials. Right now, I'm using maple and walnut. That might change a little bit, but those are more sustainable than some of the other exotic hardwoods. So it's mostly wood.
Awesome. I should put you in touch with my friend Gat Caperton. He owns a company called Gat Creek. I just had him on the podcast recently, last Friday actually. He is Gat Creek is a furniture company. They use West Virginia hardwoods to make some of the most beautiful furniture you'll ever find. Sold all over the world. And he's the son of the former governor Gaston Caperton. Gat Caperton is his name. If you would like an introduction to him, I could probably put you in. I'm sure I could put you in touch with him. He loves helping entrepreneurs as well, and it may be a good person to sound off on sustainable West Virginia hardwoods as a supplier.
That would be great. Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
Definitely. We can connect. Tara could probably connect us on that, and I'll make an introduction.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? Was this helpful to you guys? I see a couple head shaking. Awesome. Very good.
Well, before you go, Jim, I would really like to get a snapshot. I know this is the best we can do as a picture. So I'm going to pause the recording. All right. Okay. Well, Dallas is going to go ahead and start the recording. And as soon as she does that, we will get started.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, we're good. Go ahead. You're on.
Are we up? Everybody back already? Are we good to go, Tara?
It looks like we're good.
Okay, let me, in the chat box, I am putting the most important information that I'm going to offer today, and that's my email address. Let me first congratulate everyone for being part of this program. I really enjoy the opportunity that WVU and Tara and her team give the Secretary of State's office to be part of these discussions, and I'll tell you why. First and foremost, we have a Secretary of State who really does believe in young people, and this particular focus on these business plan competitions really bring out some of the best and brightest either students who live here or students going to school here. And Mac Warner wants to make sure that we create an atmosphere where you all feel comfortable and you feel that your business ideas can grow and be welcomed. Having said that, the Secretary of State's office plays a unique role in your process, the process of taking a business concept to a business idea to making it a career. And I want to be able to go through some of the things that we do. I want to take some of your questions, but in developing a company, I mean, folks have accountants they talk to, they have attorneys that they talk with. You have marketing folks like Jim Matuga. I hate to follow Jim because he's always so exciting. And here I am talking about business infrastructure, which isn't nearly as sexy or as interesting sometimes, but very, very important. I want you to know that you have your own business registration experts available to help you from the start when it comes to registering your business. Registering your business is probably the most important first step that you'll take because you can't receive money, you can't expend money, you can't open a checking account without having that registration completed with the state of West Virginia. We have, over the last 4 years, made it easy to do. What you see on the screen now is the West Virginia One-Stop Business Portal. And about 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago now, Secretary Warner challenged state government to come up with a one-stop shop, one location where any new business could register and get all their filings done under one banner. And this is the banner that you see here. By the way, it does show where you have to log in, but you can use that just a regular sign up, and the quick links are all something that you can just kind of work through it. You don't have to have an account. A lot of folks don't want to start out that way. But the new business startup wizard talks about legal status. It doesn't give you any, we can't give any legal advice, but under the quick links are where you see the business startup wizard and the fundamentals. All those are opportunities and assets for you to consider that we've learned from forums just like this. This is a developing website. We've pulled together what I think are some of the most capable and competent people in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, and our role is to listen. So I want you to know that you're not on this journey by yourself, that you have business registration experts in the Secretary of State's office that want to help you. You have us. We're a fully taxpayer-funded agency. You're a taxpayer. We want to help you. I'm here today to tell you that if you need help and need some assistance, you email me. Email me directly. I am the Deputy Secretary. I'm also the Director of Communications for the Secretary of State's office. mqueen@wvsos.gov will get you access to me, and I'll get back to you in 24 hours. You have to be registered. The current pandemic is providing great opportunities for funding, for support for startup businesses, and they have since last year. Let me tell you that in the pandemic year of 2020, West Virginia had nearly 2,000 more businesses to open up and begin operating than we did in 2019. In fact, we had more businesses to register in West Virginia in 2020 than we did the previous 14 years. So why is that? Why is it that more businesses have opened up, or more ideas or more entrepreneurs have opened up during the pandemic? Well, we believe, and once we begin to analyze what kind of small businesses they are, it's out of necessity. And out of necessity, these businesses, your businesses, have all begun to form. I'm sitting here in a garage in Bridgeport, and I've been here since March, working from home. But I'll remind everybody that Microsoft started in a garage in 1975, and Google started in a garage in 1998. Harley Davidson, Apple, a lot of small but now very large successful companies started out at home, and that's what you all are doing. So we want to make sure that your infrastructure is in place, that you're able to get the resources and help you need. Even though we're in a pandemic, we are still, beginning March 15th, we're gonna talk to our entrepreneurs and have you come into the office when you need to, new business startups, by appointment. So you can still have access to expedited services. Let's say you're in an opportunity for a loan and you figure out that you got the wrong LLC, or you needed an EIN number, you didn't get it right, or your registration isn't correct. We now can stop what we're doing, put you ahead of the line. There is a small fee for that, but you no longer have to wait 4 or 5 or 6 days to get that information. What used to take 10 days to get registered as a business in West Virginia can now take as little as 2 hours. This West Virginia One-Stop Business Center is the only 5-agency, single location business and licensing center in the country. We have the Secretary of State's office, Workforce West Virginia, which is your unemployment and employment office, the State Tax Department, the Department of Labor, and the Small Business Development Center, which is our newest partner. And I think, Terry, you mentioned that you had some discussions with the SBDC and all the great resources they provide. So we're excited about that partnership because it does allow you to make one phone call, and then we usher you through that process. That sometimes it can be daunting. I tell my son, I think some of you may know that my son Ben is a young entrepreneur. He's in the legislature, and I always caution him that the ability to focus is the curse of the entrepreneur. And you're always thinking outside the box of how I can take this idea and grow it into this and grow it into that. When you do have additional products or go into additional lines of business with your company, you have to file that and register that with the state of West Virginia. Not because we're big brother, but because it is a checks and balance for the types of businesses that are in West Virginia, so that we know, state government knows, how to fund those businesses and what to do. IT, for example, an IT business, any kind of technology business, we want to make sure that those businesses know that there are grants. There's low interest loan programs. There is wage rebate programs. And there's no way for us to communicate back and give you that information and get that information to you so you'll know that it's a benefit unless you register with the Secretary of State's office and we know the types of businesses that you're in. I will mention to you that once you do register, you're required to file an annual report with us. And that annual report basically just includes the basic information, who your partners are, what your mailing address is, what your physical location is, who your, if there's a person of record that you want to receive any notices. In West Virginia, like in 41 other states, if a business gets sued, let's say that I sue a business, I can't sue the business directly. I have to, my attorneys or me personally, we have to go through the Secretary of State's office and notify the Secretary of State's office that that business is part of a legal action. That protects the defendant, but also protects the plaintiff. so that someone can't say that I didn't receive the notice. I don't know what's going on. That is a service for businesses and for the defendants that we take very, very, very seriously. What you see here in front of you now is the Maine Secretary of State's webpage. If you look at the business side, Tara, if you'll click on business right there for me at the top, you can now begin to see all of the different services that we can provide you. It is an incredible service that most people, and we've been recognizing, by the way, businesses that have been in operation consistently for 100 years over the last 3 years. And when I give this presentation and show them these things, they just don't know and didn't know that we offered all this. For example, if the Startup Wizard for new business that gives you an idea of what legal statuses you can qualify for and what may be the best for your particular company. Let's say that you have a song or you have a trademark. We have a trademark service that we can provide. That trademark service allows you to protect a design that you might have, to protect a song or a lyric or a group of words that a phrase, a tagline. We're one of very few states that have done that, and the West Virginia legislature has allowed us to do it. I'll tell you a story that we've learned of a trademark that not a young man, a 54-year-old fellow has been working on that is for sports apparel, used our system to trademark his name and this logo, and now has the potential of looking at a $100 million deal with Nike. In our case, what we try to do is encourage you and this business and others to stay in West Virginia. And the power of a trademark, it's all in a mark. It's all in a word a lot of times. This is a way that you can protect yourself and protect your idea. So mqueen@wvsos.gov is my personal email address. I want you to know, again, we are here for you. If there is time and you need to come into the office, the West Virginia One Stop is headquartered in Charleston, but we also have what we call a business hub, one located in Clarksburg in downtown, and one located in downtown Martinsburg. So everyone in West Virginia is just about 2 hours away from an in-person opportunity to get something registered or something done quick. But most of all this is done online now. There are a couple things there's original signature required that may take a day, but we can get this done. And again, we want to be your business registration experts and make sure that you're able to understand and know and take advantage of the programs, the funding, and the tax credits that are available to you. I will tell you that the legislature just last year renewed the young entrepreneur registration credits, where it doesn't cost you anything to register your business or to file your annual report. That's for any entrepreneur under the age of 30. We also have substantial tax credits and income credits if you locate in certain areas called opportunity zones. And we can tell you a little bit about that. And I'm sure that Tara and her team can also tell you about the benefits of locating in an opportunity zone as it relates to being really a tax-free operation for up to 10 years. I've got some more notes here. I could go on and on and on about how excited we are to be part of this wonderful group of people. I mean, we're inspired by you. I'm inspired by each of you. I know that young people can make a career out of an idea, and that you can take your passion and turn it into an operation that employs people, that allows you to see the world, that allows you to do some great things. So you all have some very exciting projects in front of you. And I just want to be able to offer our services and be here and tell you that we're proud of you, we're excited for you, and we're inspired by you. So having said that, I hope you have some questions, Tara. I understand there may be a couple, and we can go from here with the questions.
Okay. Well, I can start with, I don't think, is Mackenzie on here? So I know that she said she was going to be in and out of class. So she had emailed me a question for you, Mike.
Okay.
She says, I registered my EIN number, and when I started to look at the state's registration, I think I'm going to have to do a foreign LLC. I'm a little confused about this process. Could you talk about that?
Absolutely. If you're registering outside, if you live outside of West Virginia, let's say you're a student at the WVU or Marshall or Shepherd, and you actually live outside and you're using that as your address, then you would have to still register in West Virginia. You're not a West Virginia corporation. You're just a corporation doing business in West Virginia. And that term is referred to as a foreign corporation. You're foreign to West Virginia. You're not outside the country. So you would then have to register as a foreign corporation. I don't know her specific situation, Tara, but I do know that that happens a lot. Just last month alone, we had 1,306 new businesses to register to do business in West Virginia. And about 300 of those, almost a third, 25%, were foreign companies. They were businesses outside of West Virginia that want to do business here.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other questions?
I have a couple questions. First, so like I'm registered in Virginia, since I'm kind of bouncing back and forth with my wife in terms of location, but that's where her parents live, so we registered with that address. If I would, so I'm going to register as a foreign LLC, excuse me, but is it difficult to change that over to being like a regular in-state business later?
It's not. It just it entails you canceling one and doing the other. I'd registered here first before you then closed it in Virginia. You can't transfer a domestic corporation, they would call that, from one state to another because you lose that tag. But you do it in your filing. It would say that you were originally founded in Virginia, and there's usually a control number assigned to that we ask for, so that it can show that you weren't founded here, but you moved here, and this is you're domiciled now in the state of West Virginia. This is your home state.
Perfect.
That's a great question.
And then my second question, could you just go over the opportunity zones a little bit more? Because I looked it up real quick and I see that there's one right close to where I'm at, like around Harper's Ferry, which is probably where I'd look to locate.
Get in it. If you can find a way to get in that opportunity zone. The opportunity zone was created by federal legislation that really wanted to focus new business and growth into specific zones identified by governments, by state governments in this case. There are all kind of federal tax credits. In West Virginia, you pay no income tax on the income generated through your company if you're located in an opportunity zone, physically located, for 10 years. No income tax for 10 years. It's hard not to look at those benefits, right?
That's pretty great.
Oh yeah, I mean, Brad Smith, one of the co-founders of Intuit, a Marshall graduate, he took advantage. His company, not advantage, it helped us out. They just put 300 new jobs in Bluefield, West Virginia, in a building that was located in an opportunity zone. They put millions of dollars in this new building, and they will receive, they will have zero tax liability, federal and state, for 10 years. Now that's pretty cool. It's 300 new jobs, and it brings life into these older areas that one time were very active. Downtown Clarksburg. I live here in Clarksburg. Downtown Clarksburg is an entire opportunity zone. Lewisburg in that area. You mentioned Harper's Ferry. And these would be great places to locate, right? But now there's a tax incentive and a financial incentive for you to seriously consider. But the opportunity zones are very important. Look those up. And again, that's not in our bailiwick, but if I can help you connect you with some of the state folks that work with opportunity zones, I would love to do that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Great questions.
Hey, Tara, it's Kevin Combs. Can I add on to Andrew's question and ask Mike a question?
Kevin, it's so funny. I almost just called you out and said, hey, don't you guys know each other?
I don't know Mike well. I don't think. Maybe I do. But
yeah, get in there. Get in there, Kevin.
Look, here's my question, because Andrew, that's a great question. So in an opportunity zone, for the tax benefits, so we have CRAN. I mean, we're starting to look at opportunity zone investments as well. Does that entity that operates in an opportunity zone get those tax benefits? But for an investor, does that entity in that opportunity zone have to do anything particular from a revenue standpoint for an investor to get a break, or not?
Well, it was designed originally for investors. So yes, it is investor rich with benefit. I mean, that's the whole idea. A lot of these smaller companies can't do it without the investors, right? And there is that substantial investment credits on improvements to real estate. So that, almost like a TIF district would be in a situation like that. The West Virginia Development Hub, Kevin, has some great resources on opportunity zones. They have people that they've actually worked with groups of investors, with the federal people
right.
On these. If you're interested, Kevin, it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I followed it some, Mike, and I think for me, I'm going to talk in a little bit, but I wanted certainly for everybody to realize that Mike's given you a path towards something that does excite investors at times, because there are incentives, not just for you as a company, but if you need to take money in. So it is a wonderful program. I mean, at the end of the day, I grew up in Anstead, West Virginia, and these things are designed to help areas that probably aren't going to move forward economically like their peers would. So if you as an entrepreneur find that you can locate your company, I'm supporting what Mike said and saying, it creates interest for investors beyond just the norm. If I couldn't make it happen, or it didn't make sense, that's a different issue. But if that were an opportunity for me as an entrepreneur, I would give it some serious thought.
And thank you. That it's a great opportunity for folks, no pun intended. And Andrew, if you're manufacturing something in an opportunity zone, then the tax benefits are even greater. So those are great questions. And Kevin, I appreciate you weighing in. I hope there are some other questions. We still have some time to burn here.
I have a question. So I have a question related to registering. I know that you need a physical location, and then what should we do if we don't really have a physical location yet?
Well, a lot of times you can, the shared workspaces that are available are great opportunities for people to do that. You can use an apartment. You don't have to actually work in that facility, but it's hard to serve process to just a PO box. So, and unfortunately, Michelle, that's a situation for all 50 states, and territories, that you've got to have that physical location to where, and really from a legal standpoint, to where you could be serviced if there's a legal action brought to you, or in order to establish some kind of residency. Let's say that you want to establish residency to get the young entrepreneur registration credits that the legislature offers. You have to demonstrate that you actually live in or work out of a West Virginia location. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then Michelle, you're in Shepherd. You go to Shepherd, correct?
Yes, I do go to Shepherd.
So that might be something that you could work out with the school if they could provide you space. Maybe talk to Jim about that. But if you are worried, I'm wondering if Shepherd might be able to step up and kind of provide some space for you to work out of.
Yeah, I could probably ask about that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Emma, do you have any questions? I know you kind of had some questions about registering as well.
I think for the most part, I figured it out just because I have been like looking at this for a little bit of time at this point. But if I do have anything in the future, I'll be sure to shoot you an email if that's okay.
Absolutely. Look, we work for you. We work for you, and we want you to be successful. And look, you're going to make some mistakes. It's going to be difficult, as I mentioned to you. Focus is the curse of the entrepreneur, right? But that doesn't mean that your business can't evolve and include other things. So we want you to call us. We want to make sure we keep your registration accurate and up to date. So please take advantage of it. It really is a new day in the Secretary of State's office. The one-stop, SOS in the Secretary of State's one-stop stands for see it, own it, and solve it. Everybody that calls has an issue that they need solved. So whoever you talk to ushers you through that process. And we're serious about getting you in business, because if you're in business, you're going to start paying taxes as a business. You're going to start hiring people. And it's a way really for us, especially with programs like this, to let young people know that we really do appreciate what you're doing. And we want young people to stay here. So we want you to have your business here. And what we did learn, by the way, we've been tracking, I mentioned to you, we have 2,000 new businesses, more businesses that registered in 2020 than the previous 14 years. A lot of it is remote businesses. And how cool is that West Virginia is one of the top 2 states considered as great locations for the 18 to 25 crowd that loves high adventure, loves the quality of life, the low crime, all those characteristics that we have come to know as either West Virginians or people who are going to school in West Virginia. So we're playing into that, hoping that the role that we can play helps you grow your business and be successful.
And Mike and even Kevin, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the 3 Steps to Startup group launched, and they have offered their services for free to every single person in the high school and collegiate business playing competition. So they will be providing additional coaching, legal services, everything for free. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with 3 Steps to Startup, but all of our students will be having or have the opportunity to use those services for free.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have any more questions, we can take a little quick break.
Well, let me tell 2 real quick stories. Can I finish up with these?
Yeah, love the story.
I mentioned to you earlier, and we all like to brag on our children, but and I don't know, Shelby, if, from South Harrison, if you know this story or not, but our schools are real resources. Our high schools are real resources for young entrepreneurs, and all the more reason that we really want people to understand that entrepreneurship, especially what we refer to as second income entrepreneurs, really can start out in high schools, because you have great teachers, great resources, and second income entrepreneurship really is what drives this economy. It's not only the 9-to-5 job that you have, but it's what you're doing after 5 o'clock, and it's what you're doing on the weekends. It's the farmers markets, and it's the things that you're doing to generate income for you and your family afterwards. And a lot of folks like my family, middle class West Virginians, rely on that income. So we're really trying to coin the phrase second income entrepreneurship, so that the ecosystem here in West Virginia provides forums and opportunities to collaborate after 5 o'clock. It's hard for a lot of people who are working to have exposure to others if they're working 9 to 5. So keep that term in place, the second income entrepreneurships, and know that my son was 13 years old when his teacher at Bridgeport High School encouraged him to take pictures because he was just too small and too scrawny to continue to play football. And by the time he graduated from high school, he was making more money a year than the principal was. And he told the story when he was one of the 3 finalists for the National Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He told the story that, but for my teachers, I would just be another kid with a camera. And I think that's significant. We all need mentors. We all need people who can encourage us, who can caution us, and who can help us. So continue to reach out to me, to Tara, Kevin, your local bankers. I know Chad's going to talk a little bit about that. There's nothing more important than asking questions. And finally, I want to tell you that this year marks the 50th year of the 26th Amendment. And the 26th Amendment to the United States Constitution reduced the voting age from 21 to 18. I will tell you that in West Virginia played a key role with that. Our Congressman Jennings Randolph, who then became a United States Senator, it took him 29 years to get the 26th Amendment through Congress. A lot of you may not know, but in 1942, then President Roosevelt reduced the draft age from 21 to 18 because we needed more soldiers to fight with the Allied forces in World War II. And it was West Virginia's congressman who stood up to the president and said, if you're old enough to fight, you're old enough to vote. Well, Congress didn't pass the 26th Amendment in 1942 or 52 or 62. It wasn't until 1971, in the middle of the Vietnam War, that when young soldiers were being carried off the battlefield that was now being seen on the national news networks every night, that there was enough public pressure to give 18-year-olds the right to vote. What took Jennings Randolph 29 years to get through Congress only took 100 days to get ratified by the states. And I tell you that because I want you to know that young people, especially millennials right now, are the largest voting bloc in the country, have the potential to be the youngest voting bloc, but you're just not voting. And we want you to vote. We've registered 66,000 high school students in the last 4 years. And we're trying to ascertain now how many of those voted in their first presidential election back in November. Right now, we have a great group of under 30 legislators in Charleston and in West Virginia. So people give young people a chance. We want to hear your voice. We want to know what's important to you. And from a business standpoint, we need to know what it's going to take to keep young people like the folks on this call here in West Virginia and productive, continue to go to school and growing your families and continuing to grow your business. So Secretary of State is also the chief elections official in West Virginia. And if you're not registered to vote, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but if you're not registered to vote, you can go to govotewv.com, govotewv.com, and register. And we'd love to add your name to the voter registration roll in your county. So Tara, thank you very much for having us again. This is always a great opportunity for me. I am inspired by these young people and this program. So good luck to everybody as you move forward. And Tara, thanks again for including the Secretary of State's office.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it.
Well, good morning, everyone. First, thanks, Tara. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time this morning, and congratulations to all of you for being where you are. I mean, this is these business plan competitions I always love hearing about them. I love seeing them. The innovation and the ideas that come from you all, it's really amazing. It's kind of inspiring to see every year. So thanks for your efforts and everything you're doing. I would start, and I'll end this way too. Use me or us as a resource at any time. Anything we can do to help you at any time, to advance your business or just help bounce questions, as Mike was saying. Having the ability to bounce something off someone. If we don't know the answer, we're going to put you in touch with someone who does, and have certainly a lot of customers that have lived the journey that you're starting to embark upon. So, take those lessons and to be able to apply them and maybe not make the same mistakes or just think through the process as far as decision making goes. I'm the regional president for Huntington Bank in West Virginia. I sit in Morgantown. I spent a lot of time in Charleston and really everywhere throughout the state. What I wanted to do today, I'm going to just very briefly go over a couple of new programs that we have at Huntington that are specific to small business. So I'll just start kind of big picture. Huntington is a Columbus, Ohio headquartered bank. We're about 120 billion in asset size right now. We just announced a merger of TCF, which is in Detroit. That'll take us close to 200 billion, and we'll be a top 10 regional bank in the country in terms of size. So what does that mean? That means that we have a lot of capability, a lot of ability to deliver a variety of products and services. So one of those, and kind of where we're going to focus today, is really in the community. So we've developed a community plan that focuses on a couple of pillars, I would call it. The one we're going to focus on today is access to capital. So that's one of them. Community lending and investment is another. That's a tie-in here as well. And then affordable housing and home ownership would be the third. I think really all three of those would resonate with this audience today. Again, I think most of the time spent will be on access to capital in a particular program. So we've developed what we call it as our Lift Local program, and it's in partnership with the SBA. So the SBA, is government funded, federal government funded program. We happen to be the largest SBA lender in the country, so we do more small business loans than anybody else in the country throughout our footprint. And in this program in particular, so there are a lot of programs. I'll start there, and I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but there's plenty, and we've been doing these for decades and decades. The one that's new is the one I'm going to focus on that Tara would have the flyer on here. We'll pass this around to everyone after the call, and again, any questions specifically about it we can address today or any time in the future. So Lift Local was designed to really help the undercapitalized entrepreneurs, and so who are those? I was told early on in my career that people lie, but numbers don't. So the data is very, very clear on this, that there's some underserved communities, and that has become more pronounced here over the years, but specifically minorities, women, and veterans are eligible, or anyone that would have their business located in a low to moderate income tract. You heard Mike talk about opportunity zones. Just about all of those opportunity zones, if your business was located there, would automatically qualify for this. And then if it wasn't in an opportunity zone or in a low to moderate income tract, it's eligible for any woman-owned business, minority-owned business, or veteran-owned business. And so what's different about it, what's unique about it? First of all, the loan amounts. So it would qualify for loans as low as $1,000, which is unique. Normally it's more like 10 to 25,000 for these programs. So $1,000 on the low end goes up to $150,000. It's a very low cost product. There are no fees. Huntington pays all of your origination fees and SBA fees that are associated with it. I think most importantly for the program, a lot of times it's not that people have quote unquote bad credit, it's that they have no credit. So I would say, most of you would probably fall into that category. You haven't, bought many houses, you haven't bought many cars, you may have a credit card that you pay, and that kind of thing, but your credit history is limited because you're young. I mean, it's just an experience thing. There's nothing you can do about that except build it up over time. So this has a lower credit score requirement than what a typical SBA program would have to be thoughtful of that in terms of recognition that most people that are starting a business just really don't have that established credit history. Certainly their businesses don't because they're brand new. It also comes with free financial education course that has a $1,500 value. So we have a third party we've partnered with to help you just, additional resources to help with your business plan and to think through, what's important and what's necessary to launch the business or to expand the business, et cetera. We have a program called 24-Hour Grace that's applicable not only to our small business customers, but to individuals as well, which essentially, if you were to overdraw your account, accidentally or otherwise, you basically have 24 hours to make that right. So we send you a text, we send you an email, we say, hey, your account's overdrawn, just make it right within the next 24 hours, make a deposit, and there's no fees, so no harm, no foul there, and we just keep moving on. It also has longer repayment terms. So, normally these are going to be shorter term loans. This is a 10-year repayment. So it gives you a little bit more time to pay back than a traditional loan. I can kind of get into a lot more in terms of, more traditional lending, other types of SBA lending. I'm just going to pause for a second though, and allow for any thoughts or questions, just either about that program or if there's anything in general that you guys would like me to touch on from a banking perspective. I'm happy to take it any direction we want.
I'm just curious. Oh, sorry. I'm just curious about how we got started with this. Like, is there any process that we need to go through beforehand, or is there just a form we need to fill out?
Yeah, so if you go into I put the website, I think I put that in the chat. I meant to if I didn't. Yeah, so if you go to the website that's in the chat, it's got all the information we just talked about, but also there's applications there. The Operation Hope is who we work with in terms of the coaching that we talked about, that $1,500 value. A lot of times, it's good to kind of have those conversations first and kind of work through your business plan. Because, people come to us and say, I know I need money, but I don't know how much money I need. And I don't know exactly what I need it for. And I don't, so it's kind of mapping out what your expectations are. And then, do I need it for equipment? Do I need it for working capital? Do I need, where do I need those dollars, so that you're educated on how much to apply for first and foremost, and then the qualification side of it.
Okay, thank you. That's nice to know.
I've got a question here. We're looking to locate kind of in the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, and I know that's not near a physical Huntington Bank branch location. Does that matter for applying for funds through this program?
No, it doesn't. It's a great question. So we do limit it to our footprint, but our footprint is the state of West Virginia. So although we don't have a physical presence in the Eastern Panhandle from a branch perspective, so it'd be anywhere in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Wisconsin, soon to be Minnesota and Colorado.
Awesome, thank you.
You bet. Good question.
Chad, I know you've been in banking for a while, so do you have any advice for students, high school and college age students that you would give to them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tara. First and foremost, stick with it. It's not going to be an easy ride or an easy journey or without trials and tribulations. And I think, 2020 taught us anything that it taught us that it was a challenge for anybody in any industry doing anything. But also from that, we learn, how to overcome those challenges. The thing that I would tell you is, find a mentor, find someone who you can bounce ideas off of, whom you trust, that has got your best interest in heart and not necessarily the best interest of them. So that may not always be, if you have investment partners, it may not always be them. It might be people that you're working with now that are on this call. It might be teachers, it might be business coaches, it might be, friends that you have in business, or parents or friends of parents. But find a mentor, find somebody that you're super comfortable bouncing ideas off of, and don't be afraid to ask questions, and get, multiple inputs. If you get advice from 5 or 6 different people that have kind of been there and done that, and the advice is pretty similar, it points you into a right path in terms of your decision making. But if you get multiple answers, you can ascertain which way is the best way to go, and weigh the pros and cons of that. I just think the more information you can have from people that have been there and done that, and have access to people like that, the more success you're going to have. From a financial standpoint, it's always good to have, we always kind of look at things in sort of what we expect scenario, best case scenario, and worst case scenario. So to be able to have flexibility in terms of what you can do with either your price of your product, expenses within the business, flexibility. If things go exactly as you expect them to go, it's perfect. That's great. Chances are very, very likely they're not always going to do that. I mean, you're going to have a bump in the road. So where can you flex? Is it in the price of my product? Do I need to potentially reduce that a little bit? Do I need to broaden who my customer base is to try to make up for that? Or are there, some fixed costs within my business somewhere that I can eliminate or reduce for periods of time to make it sustainable? Those are always tough decisions to make. But when you're looking at the long term of the business, and you're looking at the sustainability of it over a really long period of time, those are things that you have to do sometimes. And it's important to do that early in the process, when you recognize that maybe it's not going exactly the way you kind of laid it out. You're kind of going into more that worst case scenario.
Great. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. Good question.
Do we have any last questions for Chad before he has to jump off to his next meeting?
Yeah, I'm good for another probably 8 to 10 minutes or so. If there's other questions or anything else we want to talk about, we can that specific program. But again, there's about 10 SBA programs. There's USDA. There's conventional loans. Yeah, there's so many different ways to think about lending and access to capital. I know you're going to talk about angel investing and equity after this, and those are important topics too. A little bit more patient capital, but anything at all, if there's anything on your mind, we can cover that.
We've got Kevin on here too. I know that this wasn't planned, but I don't know if Kevin, if you want to kind of go back and forth and maybe talk about the differences between angel investment and going to a bank like Chad's, to Huntington Bank, and trying to get a loan. So maybe you guys could kind of talk about the difference, the positive and negatives to each of those.
I guess, from my perspective, I just, Chad, I mean, people that are in finance, I'm not a finance guy. I mean, at the end of the day, I was a biology major at West Virginia University, and I've become pretty savvy at business. But so I say financial ecosystem. Some people say capital stack. Usually when I'm with my peers that are finance driven. So what I always think about, Chad, and I mean, I think it, as an entrepreneur, and I'm still an entrepreneur on top of everything else too, is really what that financial ecosystem or capital stack. Where do I enter as an entrepreneur? When do I talk to Chad and Huntington Bank, and when do I go present to an angel group, or again, even though we're talking about this stuff, I look at all of you all and I go, when can I get non-dilutive money? Where's the right pool of money that isn't going to make you pay debt back to Chad, or give an angel group some of your company or equity or convertible debt or something? And so I think
you just hit on all the pros and cons right there. That was perfect. So I think here's the way I look at it in a very simple way. When you're at a point where you feel comfortable from whatever source of, so I look at a small business as the person is the small business is the person. So the business is going to pay your personal bills. All those things are driven generally from the business. So we kind of merge those two in a privately owned small business setting. So when you are at a point where you feel that your business is at a place where it can comfortably repay, right? So when you're in a startup phase and you're in a development phase and you're pre-revenue, that's probably not the time to get a loan. Probably not, because you don't have revenue to be able to repay it unless you have some other source of income over here on the side to be able to repay a loan. Now, why would you want to get a loan in that scenario versus angel investors? To Kevin's point, well, it's cheaper in the long run. Although you have interest expense in the short run and you have to make payments right away, you're not diluting your equity. So long-term value of you as the shareholder stays intact, and you're able to retain more for yourself clearly down the road. So the less expensive route is a loan. But just like when you buy a house or you rent your apartment or you buy a car or anything like that, there's an expectation that you repay it, once you borrow it. And so you need to just be very comfortable that you can do that.
Yeah, that was great, guys. I think that was really well taken. Do we have any questions? Okay. Well,
I'll just put my contact info over here in the chat also, Tara. So if there's anything, afterwards, I'll put my email address on there. You guys reach out anytime, anything I can help you with, point you in the right direction, whatever, anything that you need, you let me know, and I'm happy to do it.
Chad, I really appreciate you doing that. I hope that all the students on here understand that what a big deal it is to get someone like yours or Mike's or Kevin's email address. It's a pretty big deal, and they are being incredibly kind with their time and their expertise. So I hope that everyone, appreciates that and is thankful.
Well, thank you all. And Tara, thank you for your leadership of the group here, and everyone. Great job with everything you're doing. Keep it up. Keep moving things forward. A lot of great ideas come from these groups, and love nothing more to see, very successful West Virginia businesses get created out of this. And again, anything I can do to help any of you, you just let me know.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for your continued support.
You bet. Thank you all. Have a great day.
All right, so we're going to continue rolling here. Since that was a short one, I don't think we need a break. So I will let Kevin Combs introduce himself here. I have a little slide for him. So Kevin, I'll throw it over to you, and we're going to be doing some questions back and forth. So the first question I have for you is, who are you and why do you care about West Virginia?
Yeah. So first, thanks, Tara, for having me on, and thank all you for being on. And so I'm a 58-year-old who lives in Virginia most of the year, but still owns over 500 acres of property in West Virginia. I grew up in Ansted, West Virginia. I was born in Charleston, and I went to Midland Trail High School there in Fayette County. And then I went to West Virginia University and was a biology and exercise phys major. I met my wife while I was there. We've been married 35 years. She's from Elkins, West Virginia. And I think why I care is basically when Tracy and I got married, my mom and dad had some entrepreneurial businesses, and West Virginia's economy struggled. They were doing well, and then West Virginia's economy struggled, and it created a great struggle for them. But I got to have a front row seat to all of that, and and I really have loved all the time I spend in West Virginia. So you fast forward that, and I go, what do I want to do? I've had some successes. Glad to talk about that at some point, but what really interests me, and what really interests me are young people. I'm not trying to be agnostic to older entrepreneurs, but young people who are taking the risk to start their own business, to take their entrepreneurial idea and try to show the world how awesome it is. And so I figured out how to do that, but I didn't figure it out until I was in my 40s. And so, and I think a lot of the reason I didn't figure it out is because I didn't have a good mentor. I didn't have anybody everybody took advantage of me in this way. I was really great at making money for people. And they kept giving me jobs and giving me a little bit of what I made. And then eventually I was like, wow, I'm making people a lot of money and I'm not really getting to keep very much of it. And, and it's not all about money. I also was, passionate about things that some other people weren't passionate about. So anyway, that's kind of me, a kid that, that grew up, little area, little church, 4 kids, dogs, and just a normal human being. What's a little different now at this age is I've made people about $2.5 billion in the last 20 years of my life. And I got to keep some of that money after I made that decision in my 40s to, try to go out and start my own things or run businesses, and take on investment dollars to, to fund those things. So that's it, Tara.
Kevin, I mean, you alluded to your background, how you've made other people money. I think that it would be interesting for you to talk about some of those companies that you've worked for and your expertise and background a little bit more so they have a better understanding of who you are.
Sure. So, well, I got my biology degree, and my first 2 years out of college, I taught. So my wife was still in college. She's a couple years younger than me, and she had 2 years of college to go. And when she finished college, she got 5 teaching offers. She was an elementary ed major, and one of them was in Charlottesville, Virginia. And so, we didn't have the internet. That's the hardest thing talking to you guys at your age. You've got so many resources. I mean, so literally I thought I would come to Charlottesville, Virginia and probably be a teacher, because that's what I did while I was waiting for Tracy to finish school. And I was still figuring out what I wanted to do. Nothing wrong with that. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. But at the end of the day, I got down here and they wouldn't let me teach because I didn't have a teaching degree. I had a biology degree, and that was okay in West Virginia, but not in Virginia. So, so I got into pharmaceuticals, and I mean, it was opportunistic. My neighbor was getting promoted, and I was looking for a job, and he was like, "Hey, you're a biology major. They probably love you." And so boom, I get into pharmaceuticals, and I'm in my early mid 20s, and I just crush it. I'm good at talking to doctors. I'm good at science. And I move up through GlaxoSmithKline over 13 years to be the youngest vice president in GlaxoSmithKline. I've got a really great career going. I'm making good money. My wife is staying at home now. We've got 4 kids that are below the age of 6. And, and somebody comes along and says, "Hey, we've got a business we'd like you to run, privately held business." And while I'm at the top of my game, at GlaxoSmithKline, I just say goodbye. And, every peer I had looked at me and said, "You're an idiot. How can you do this? You're not taking care of your family. You're not thinking about your wife." And every friend I had said, "We wondered how long it was going to take you." And so, I started running small businesses, and, right as I hit 40. And other people still owned those businesses, but I got equity in those businesses, and I was pretty good at it. So I took some small companies and took one from a couple $1 million to about $40 million, and we sold off assets. And I learned a hard lesson about the legalities of business partnerships and how greedy some partners can be, because I didn't know these people initially. And, they wanted to keep more of the money that I had created than they were supposed to. And that was a little bit of a hard lesson, but, I took the lesson and, and learned from it. And then I, at that point went into business with some other folks, a little wiser, a little more equity, a lot more lawyers to make sure that everybody played nice in the sandbox. And I created took a $2 million company and turned it into a $100 million company. And we sold that company for a couple $100 million in cash and 5 million shares of stock in the company that bought us. They were trading at 8. A year later, they were trading at 117. So it turned out to be like a $700 and some million deal. And I got my fair share of what I was supposed to get. And I really had a difference of opinion with the chairman of that company. So I didn't want to stick around, but on the way out the door, I did a biz dev deal that became one of the largest biz dev deals in the biopharmaceutical sector. It was the largest deal in 2018. We, in 2014, we made a $5 million investment in a gene therapy company that I had sourced and closed. And that 5 million 4 years later turned into $1.2 billion. The gene therapy is for a disease called spinal muscular atrophy. It's basically a program. You have SMN1 motor neurons that basically run your body. And if you have SMA, and there are 4 stages of it, but if you have SMA type 1, you basically are going to pass before your 24-month birthday. And it's really bad. It's ALS like, Lou Gehrig like. So anyway, these scientists, really bright people, had created a genetic payload and a way to do it. And I thought we ought to invest in it. And I fought a lot with a lot of people, and we made the investment. And 4 years later, a lot of money was made. So anyway, as we talk today, I think about those things and think about you all, and I go, it's never been about making money for me. It's always been about solving puzzles, really, just to be honest with you, right? I mean, I could be making $10 and my wife and I would be happy. We really don't care. We talk about it all the time. We both thought we were just going to teach school. I wanted to coach baseball. I played baseball. I would have rather played pro baseball. I wish I were that good. But at the end of the day, I did also always say that, I wanted to have my own business. So I appreciate the entrepreneur term, and I like to use it. It sounds better than small business owner for some reason, but I'm okay with being a small business owner. So anyway.
Yeah. So Kevin, that's an interesting background, but how does that relate so CRAN is Country Roads Angel Network. So yeah. Tell me, how did you get from there to CRAN?
Yeah. So this is the meat of it for all of you all. I mean, it's what Chad and I were talking about. It's this thing you'll hear, if you're taking the classes and all those types of things, and you're doing some finance or entrepreneurism stuff, I guess you'll hear capital stack used. I've still even though I know that's there, I think financial ecosystem. And what I really think about is how do I get my business, from off its back onto its feet and then jumping, and I'm like, I got to have capital. And unless you have family and friends, and that's usually the first round, is family and friends. Kind of go to an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor, a teacher that liked me, somebody, and get a little bit of money and get started, right? Like, how do I do that? Or if I'm, at one of the institutions or high schools or colleges or universities you all might happen to be at, can I get a mentor, and can they, lead me to some non-dilutive money? Can I get a grant? And I always look at people and I go, hey man, I'll help all of you all. I mean, and I'm going to tell you, even though you're going to eventually probably need some investment dollars, get non-dilutive money. You keep your company, you run your company, you know more about your company, you have the passion for your company, right? So, I look at it and I go, family and friends usually sometimes can be a little dilutive. They may say, mom may say, hey, I'll give you $1,000, but listen, if you hit it big, I want my $1,000 back. It's still kind of non-dilutive, right? Or mom might say, but if you really hit it big, I need a new car, so that's cool too. But at the end of the day, family, friends, grant dollars from the government, state or federal. And then it's, where do I go in that pecking order? And that next round to me is, angel capital. It's people like me who look at something and, different angels have different theories. I don't want to be a philanthropist. I mean, I do some philanthropic things. I give money to West Virginia University, West Virginia State University. I mean, a lot of places I give pretty decent amount of money. I don't expect anything in return for that. I'm doing it because I was lucky enough to have some good things happen. When I'm an angel investor, I want a couple of things. One is I want inspired entrepreneurs to be chasing a dream. And I want to see that passion in them. That's what I live for. I live for it myself. I live for it in my kids, my wife, my family, my marriage, my faith, my, everything. So that's part of the drive for me as an angel, to do passive investing. And then the other thing that I want is a return. So I want to teach entrepreneurs that the whole concept here is if you take in somebody's money, then, you know, give them a return on their money. They took big risk. I like taking big risk. So that's what it all boils down to, right? As a kid, I climbed up the bridge at, you know, down on New River in Ansted, and it was like 70 feet high. I'd jump off, and, you know, it didn't matter how big or how mean everybody else was. I was like, you won't do this. I'm going to take this risk. And, you know, you're not going to take this risk. And I know you're not going to take this risk because it's really risky, you know, and that's what that, and even if you look at, I mean, and not all of you are from West Virginia as natives, but if you look at the risk tolerance and business map for the United States, the people who like risk the least are mountaineers in a way. I think that's wrong. And I think that's changing enormously in this group that comes through, but probably because of coal mining and the ability to have a job at 16 or do it your whole life, you know, there's just no reason to take crazy risks. But you all are, if you choose to do these things for your vocation coming out of school, high school or college, you're taking more risk than your peers who just go look for a safe place and you know, sit down. So, you know, for me, that's kind of what it's about, Tara, is, you know, I kind of came back, worked with the Hive, which is a business incubator in Southern West Virginia, which is part of the New River Gorge Regional Development Authority, which is the NRGRDA covers a 4-county area. The Hive covers a 13-county area in Southern West Virginia. Bill Massey, who was I think the last working Massey at Massey Coal before it went public. Bill is a friend I met, you know, along the way here, not that many years ago. And, you know, he recognized I really wanted to do something in West Virginia. And he towed me along to these boards he was on in Southern West Virginia. And then I started really paying attention to what was happening. And what I realized is there just aren't enough family and friends, right? I mean, I grew up in a single wide trailer for part of the time. Mom and dad, you know, didn't go to college, and they wanted everything for us, but they couldn't give us, you know, money. You know, they could give support and a bed, and that's awesome. But you know, and so it took me a long time to figure that out, though. So anyway, I can obviously ramble on forever, but I want this to be helpful to all of you all. And I think the part that's helpful is, you know, CRAN is there. You've got this angel group, people like-minded. Their stories may be a little different than mine, but what they want to do is see people stay in West Virginia, build their companies in West Virginia, be passionate about West Virginia, be passionate about their company.
And Mike's going and pay their taxes in West Virginia.
And I mean, for sure. I mean, that's what it's a rising ship mentality, right? I mean, it just is. I mean, the more small businesses that start in West Virginia, the more of an economy we have. You know, there's no, I don't want to spend time telling you all things that you're smart enough to know. I mean, the coal industry is, it's not on the incline. It's not on an increase, right? I mean, we had, when I graduated, when I graduated high school, 1981, when I graduated high school, there were 106, no, is that right? Yeah, I think 169,000 mining jobs or something like this. I think they're like 28,000 or 25,000 or something now. I sat down with Mr. Justice a few years ago before he ran the first time. My older brother's very good friends with him. And I wanted to talk to Jim about a couple of things. I didn't have an ask, which was funny. He kind of cracked up at me because he was sure I wanted something if I was talking to him, but I wanted to give him some advice for you all, you know, and I said, please, when you get there, start teaching kids to program in the 6th grade. I mean, I've watched my wife teach in the Virginia school systems, and kids start getting, you know, 6th grade level, they start learning how to program. You know, I'm like, put that in place. You got to get broadband. Please get broadband. I mean, I'm watching what's happening when I'm in Virginia, and I'm like, these aren't things we can't do. I mean, we're really phenomenal at it. But you know, somebody's got to support this culture for West Virginia. And I don't know. That's one of the things I love about Jim is I think he does support things that really are helpful. So I'm not a very big political guy, I'll tell you that right out of the gate. But, but I love what's happening with West Virginia right now.
Well, and speaking of investing in our own, Kevin, would any of these students know anyone that you've invested in through that?
Sure, of course they do. I mean, Kyle and James. So you all are sitting in chairs. I've been blessed to be able to judge this competition for a little while, and I'm going to say 3 years ago, class maybe.
So they won 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago even. So James and Kyle, Carnes and Gillis, you had these two engineering students that popped, to the STEM category of the business plan competition. And they, James and Kyle basically
Sorry, Kevin, sorry, I accidentally muted you because we had someone else off mute. So I'm trying to find you to unmute you.
Did it work?
There we go. You're back. Sorry about that.
So James and Kyle came to the STEM category of the business plan competition with this idea, iconic EDU. They would have a drone hub at a high school, teach the high school kids about drones, how to fly them, build them, repair them, and all this. In the meantime, in the evenings, or in this kind of Mike's kind of, two-sided business here, a dual, type of business scenario. These guys were going to fly these drones over smokestacks and take readings, of the air quality, and they can make money for that because you got to do that for the EPA. And so that was their initial idea. They presented incredibly well. They had a great business plan. We can talk about that real quick. It was sharp, crisp. They knew the product. They had done some market research. And we said yes, and they won. And then 2 years later, I'm down in Southern West Virginia saying we need to start up an angel group, and I get a lot of support, and we've been able to do that. And then we go, okay, we're going to have our people come in and figure out who our first participants are going to be. And all of a sudden, I've stayed in touch with James and Kyle, and they go, we want to raise $135,000 more to supplement this Air Force Stage 2 grant we got, non-dilutive money. But we need some dilutive money to do a couple little things. And they came and presented, and they crushed it. I mean, they had a tight slide deck. They, they had a 10-minute presentation. They had a, answer to every question in Q&A that they could. There were 2 that they didn't know the answer to. They didn't try to answer them. They said, we'll get that back to you. They just did everything you would want, an entrepreneur to do. And they became the first investment for West Virginia's Country Roads Angel Network. We invested the full $135,000. They didn't have to go out in their situation and look for other money. That won't always be the case. Sometimes, we'll be an investor, and let's say one of you all came to us and you needed $500,000. It may be that we don't give you the full $500,000. It may be you only get $125,000 from us. And this is where you guys have got to get really sharp on what you're doing, what your business needs, what you need to operate, et cetera. And then what I would say to you though is, with Country Roads Angel Network being in West Virginia, ask us if you're in a position where you're going to give away some equity, and we can talk about those aspects. But if you're going to take on investment dollars, ask us, because the hardest dollars to get are the first dollars. Find people in the investment community to get the first dollars from, because people, it's the FOMO, fear of missing out. All of a sudden, if a Country Roads Angel Network put in 150,000. Holy moly, we better put in 150. We don't want to miss out on Emma's great idea. That'd be terrible, right?
That is a great point. And I just want to bring up, it looks like Kevin's frozen here. I just want to bring up that the guys, whenever they were presenting in the final round of the collegiate business playing competition, they presented at the competition, hopped on a flight, and then went to Michigan to pitch at another competition because they were hustling. They were earning their own money. And as a point, Kevin invested in them 2 years later. So they raised a couple $100,000 on their own. They went through pitch competitions, they applied for grants, and then Kevin came in. So this is not just, oh, we're just going to go to a bank and get a loan. We're just going to pitch at the business plan competition. If you need money, you need to be hustling and going for every single opportunity. And just so you know, Kevin will be a judge in the round 3. So he will be listening to your final pitches.
Hey, am I still frozen? Am I still frozen?
Nope, you're
back. Hey, so real quick too, let's just talk about that. Yeah, I mean, you can go and Google this, but for an angel group presentation, you know, really what matters at the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna figure this out. It's either an angel likes the entrepreneur most or the idea most. Okay, I mean, you have 2 different types of investors. You either have an investor who thinks you don't matter. I don't know how anybody believes that. And you'll figure out, it's very easy to figure out which camp I'm in. Or you have an investor who believes that no matter what the idea is, if the entrepreneur is the right person, they can make anything work almost, right? So you know, you want to do a little recon on who you're going to be speaking with. So if you were going to talk to Cran, you'd want to talk to Peyton Ballard, who's our executive director, and you'd want to ask him questions like, you know, what does the group like to see? What do they like to hear? You know, I know it's 10 minutes, but, you know, do they want to know more about me, more about the idea? So you're just doing a little recon, right? And trying to get yourself ready for that so that you slant your presentation to the audience that you're going to talk to. But the key things about that regardless are you're going to give me a pain point. You're going to give me a problem. So you're going to give me a title slide and tell me what you do. You're going to do what Jim said up front, right? You're going to capture my attention, right? With your 30-second elevator, which is in a pitch is really that first slide. And it's going to tell me what you're doing. And then you're going to jump right into, for me, here's the problem. So here's my company right now. I've got a startup. I raised $2 million. I'm getting ready to raise $10 million because we've achieved the things we need to achieve. And I've earned the right to take on more money, and I don't have cash flow yet. So, you know, I understand a lot of things you all could be going through. But, you know, I said, here's the big problem. There are chronic wounds that won't heal. And then I gave the proof of that. 66%. You know, in 2020, there was a report that came out from CMS that said 66% of wounds in patients 65 or older heal. Well, that means that 1/3 of patients that get wounds that are older than 65 don't heal, you know, and there are therapies out there. There are 80 choices of things you could do, but my product. So the problem is wounds don't heal in older patients. My product, the solution is my product heals those wounds in those patients. My product closes wounds, you know, and so at the end of the day, it's that simple. Well, aren't there a lot of other products? Yes, there are. We just went over that, and they're used all the time, and still yet 1/3 of people don't heal. Well, you know, but mine does. And then after that, I made a couple of notes because that's good for me. I'm a little ADD sometimes. So I've given you kind of, and then, you know, I come back and I say, so what size is that market? What does 1/3 of that adult market look like? Well, in the US, it's a $6.5 billion market. So what's my TAM? What's that total addressable market? You know, you'll get those terms if you're in the business classes, but I still just do this, you know, the way I think about it. So, you know, what size is my market? And then, you know, people are always going to ask you if you don't talk about competition. So, you know, I'm going to, you know, create this new XYZ. Well, who are your competitors? Are they already out there? I was straight up. There are 80 competitors. But, you know, here's the difference in my product. This is what mine does. This is what theirs doesn't do. Differentiation. What is the differentiation? There needs to be some differentiation. Otherwise, you're in a commodity market, and then you got to convince me that you got some, you know, kind of ability to keep your costs down and do something that gets you market share if you're in a, you know, kind of that type of market. And then, you know, the team matters. So is it you? Is it you and a group of people? Do you have some advisors? If you're a high school age kid, the best the best high school pitch I heard in West Virginia was a kid from Greenbrier East, who was a chicken farmer. And he had these cool eggs and cool chickens. Basically, he had these cool eggs that you mailed to you, and then they'd hatch these cool chickens from all these different kind of crazy eggs, right? And this kid knocked it out of the park. But he had an advisor, somebody from 4-H, that understood things. And he had an advisor at school that had helped him with his website and his business. And so again, I mean, the kid was 17 years old. And I told him when we were done, I was like, you need $50,000, you call me. I'm not going to put you through, a bunch of other problems. Call me. It was the best presentation I've ever heard. And the kid was 17 years old. So, and I think that's another thing about you all is, just, don't think about hierarchy. Think about, I'm kind of more of a person that doesn't look at age or title or degrees or, what's your idea, and do it based on merit. Is this person got the passion, the energy, the understanding? If they're 17 or 70, then they're investable. And then make an ask at the end. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you want. Tell me why you want it. And be serious about that. Be proud of what you're doing. Be proud of what you're doing. You got to be passionate, and you got to want to do it. And then if you are, make the ask. Here's what I need. And I need your money. And if you need my support, then ask for that too. If you need my network, ask for that, but make the ask that you want to, that's the point of the pitch. So that's it. That's what I wanted to, all the other stuff, great. I like people to know that a kid can grow up in a trailer in West Virginia and, succeed. So I just want you to have that passion, and I want you to have it at your age. I don't want you to wait till my age.
Yeah, that was great. And that was very passionate, Kevin. I'll say that. So these students are providing an 8-minute maximum YouTube video. And we're doing that because, we're on Zoom, and if they freeze or they lose internet service, we want to make sure that the judges have the opportunity to watch that video in advance. And then of course they'll have access to read the business plan in advance. So what can these students do to stand out in that YouTube video? Is it they need to be extremely creative? I know you just talked about the picture that was a student that, had the eggs. Like, what is it that you want to see that can help them stand out?
I think listening to Mike talk this morning, it just is what always gets me. It's just the passion. Mike's son had to want to do that. He had to like photography. I doubt seriously that Mike had to beat him about the head to go get a camera, and then beat him to go get the camera fixed. And, he had to love it, right? What you want to convey in those 8 minutes, no matter what it is the passion you have for doing what you want to do. Those are the entrepreneurs that succeed, because I'm going to tell you, it's going to stink. It is up and down. And I'm 58 years old, and on Mondays, I think the world is the greatest place on earth because we killed it on some presentation and something happened. And on Wednesday, I think we're shutting the doors. And on Friday, I'm, virtually having a happy hour with my team because we crushed it that week, right? My emotions and what's happening are just all over. It's not for everybody. My wife hates what I do. She likes being right at about 72% in life, and that way she's never really down, but she's never going to get the peak I get. But she's never going to hit the floor like I hit it either. So, and that's what I love. In my life, I say God's given me a window to the differences of those things because of Tracy, but I love this lifestyle. I love solving puzzles, and I just don't give up. I really just don't give up. But I think that for me as an investor, that's what I've got to see in each of you all. So however you convey that, some of that, a real easy moniker is PC4. I don't know. I want to write this book. I don't think it exists. I go passion and competency equals confidence. So passion, you got to have, you got to want. Competency is either your schooling or your knowledge about something like hair care or whatever it is, right? Music, whatever. But have competency. what people see in you then is not egotism or not somebody where I go, this person doesn't have an idea of what they're doing. You know, I see confidence. I see a young lady or a young man that has a purpose and they are driven. They're doing everything they can to fully grasp it. And then there's 2 more C's, and one of them's character. And that means I don't like liars. I don't like dishonest people. I don't like people that try to mislead me. Be who you are. Don't be somebody you're not, because we're going to be in a relationship for a while, you know, as an investor and an entrepreneur. And so I don't want that person changing on me. I want to know who they are, and I want to be able to count on that. And then the last thing is, and it would be very clear, is competition. Be a competitor. And my version of competition isn't I beat Mike or I beat Jenny. My version of competition is I'm maxed on what I'm capable of. You will never, ever win, because you've got to beat yourself. It's a personal best every time you go out. You've got to get a second off your time if you're a swimmer or a runner every time you go out. That's damn hard to do. It's easier for Jenny to have a bad day and you happen to beat her than for you to do better than you did yesterday. So those kind of 5 things, if you will, the 4 C's and the P, if you get that down, so you think about what I just said about what needs to be in your presentation, and you convey that with PC4, you're going to get your money. I mean, you know, you're going to get your money. You're going to move some investors. You might not move every investor in that group, but you're going to move some investors.
That was great. Thank you, Kevin. So I'd like to open it up to questions from the students. Does anyone have a question for Kevin? Well, okay, speaking of questions, we got a nice job, Kevin. What kind of questions should they expect at the business playing competition after the video is played? What type of questions do you usually ask?
Yeah, I mean, the ones I just talked about, I'm interested in competition. Have you evaluated the market? Do you know who else is out there? I'm interested in whether you have a trade secret or a patent. You know, are you looking at a patent for whatever you have? Are you looking at a trade secret? If you're not, what's your differentiation? You know, have you done, I mean, I'm hoping that you gave it to me during the presentation, but if you didn't, then I'm definitely asking. You know, I'm also asking what your game plan is, you know, in terms of the money, you know, you've taken in. When you ask for the money, tell me what you're going to do with it. You know, I'm going to apply, I need $100,000. Great. What are you going to do with it? I need to pay myself $100,000. Well, hell no. You know, I need $100,000. 10,000 of it's going to go to a prototype. 10,000 is going to go to an IP attorney. 20,000 is going to go to me for salary. 20,000 is going to go for the develop. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. You know, be reasonable. You know, have a plan. You know, so that's, I mean, because again, I think at the end of the day, you've only got those, you know, so many minutes in your video scenario. So, you know, you want to get through those things I talked about. You don't want to seem rushed. You want to seem passionate, but you don't want to seem rushed. And so, you know, and Q&A, just remember, that's where it's all going to take place, candidly, right? If you haven't explained something to me, I'm going to ask you about it. If I need clarity, I'm going to ask you about it. You know, so, I mean, you don't have to tell the world everything in those few minutes, right? You just have to paint a picture. And I loved that first scenario about the story. Just tell the story, paint the picture.
And Kevin, one thing that you brought up earlier is when the Iconic guys were pitching to you and you had a couple of questions that they couldn't answer and they didn't lie. They said, I'll come back to you. So what does that mean to you? Is that what you want to hear from someone?
It goes to the character thing I just said. It's big for me, Tara. You know that Tara and I know each other kind of well. I'm not going to tell you I can do something that I'm not going to do. I think that sets a bad precedence in relationships, whether they're a marriage or whether they're, you know, a business relationship or anything. So my word, I still, that's a challenge for me in today's world. You got to sometime have lawyers and you got to have great documents because I'm pretty good at this. If I tell one of you today that I'll talk to you, then you can assure that we're going to talk. And, you know, and if I tell one of you, oh, I'm going to give you $10,000, then you're going to get $10,000 from me. You know, we may have to argue a little bit about the document and how that money comes in, but you're going to get your money. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think with James and Kyle, I immediately respected them because I didn't ask those questions myself. I was part of a panel, but it was a tick box for me that I was going down on that PC4. Do these two kids love what they're doing? Yes. I mean, love what they're doing, passionate about it. Are these two kids competent? Well, God, they knew more about drones and sensors than anybody that I ever met. So I'm going, yes. You know, do they appear confident because of that? Yeah, they're freaking barely 20 years old or whatever. But yeah, I'm capable. And, you know, are they competitive? Well, they were entering competitions. They had done a few of them. They were putting it out there saying, hey, we're willing to go compete. And, you know, and then there was the character question. And how do you figure that out about them? Well, I figured it out when they didn't say, I know everything. They didn't know everything. And they said, I don't know, but I can tell you what, I am smart enough. Look back to my hyper learner capability under competency. I'll have that answer for you sometime in the next week. And they got the answers back to us as a group. So it was, and they didn't have to, because as Tara knows, we were going to vote already anyway, right? But they got the answers back to us. And that made them investable for me. I mean, Tara knows this. I followed these guys for 2 years. I pretty much stalked them because what I want, what I want you all to see is James and Kyle. What I want every one of you all to see are James and Kyle. I want you to see that they got investment, that they're staying in West Virginia, and man, they're going to make something great happen. And I hope it inspires you. It inspires me. I'm older than them. But they inspire me every day. Every time I get down, I'll look at a picture of iconic Air now. And go, look at what James and Kyle are doing, man. That is awesome.
And they were in your seat 2 years ago. That's the thing, you know, I think that is what we need to keep reiterating, that you can become anything. It doesn't matter if you're in high school, if you're in college, you have the opportunity right here in front of you. And I just want to say again, thank you to Kevin and all of our speakers today, because they have been putting their information in the chat. And I don't know many people that would do that. A lot of people try and keep away from putting their information out there because they'll get bombarded with emails and questions. But I also think that's the mountaineer mentality. Like if you're from West Virginia, you're one of our own. Even if you're not from West Virginia, they want to help you because you have that connection in some way to the state. So I'll open it up one more time. If anyone has any final questions for Kevin, I want to be respectful of his time.
Well, hey, before if that happens, Tara, thank you. I mean, because the one thing we haven't said, or I feel like I can't say enough, is West Virginia is a special place. I mean, I've traveled so much, and it seems weird to say this because I've met a lot of wonderful people all over the world. But West Virginia is a very special place. Very seldom does a West Virginian say no to somebody who asks them for something. Very seldom. I mean, and that's a special quality, because that's the thing that's different to me, is really the concept of, I want to help any way I can for things to be better for my fellow people. I think it has something to do with the way you get raised in small communities, is what I think. Even though we have a few larger cities, I still think it proliferates. But anyway, I think that's important, because the soft skills, if you talk to me long enough, I don't think it's my hard skills. You got to be good at those. You got to be competent. You got to get your degree. You got to get your advanced degree. You got to be able to program if you're doing this, or, you know, you got to have those skills. It's the soft skills that differentiate in human nature from my perspective. I can go find 4.0 kids all day long. I've said this my whole life, but I haven't hired many 4.0 kids, because I'll be honest with you. I mean, and this is just real quick. If you can make a 4.0, that's great. But when I talk to you, if you cannot interact with me, and I want some interaction, even at Leidos, even across the hill over there where they got 180 programmers. The guy that runs that, his name's Mike Raker. If any of you guys ever need anything from Leidos, let me know. Mike's a great personal friend. He's a member of CRAN, but he is the chief software officer for a 40,000 person company, Leidos. And yet Mike will tell you, even though they've got all these projects, he looks for those people soft skills, because those guys, even though they're programming all day long, they still have to interact in groups to get all this stuff to mesh. And when they can't, he can't get his projects done. And so it's been a real learning for me, because I thought the tech environment might change that, but it's not going to. There still is eventually human interaction. So anyway, thanks, Tara.
Thank you, Kevin. Peyton, did you want to say anything? Peyton's with Korean as well.
No, I think Kevin, Kevin's so passionate and does such a great job in outlining things. I think, I'll just say that, if you're interested in CRAN, if you're ready, past the business plan competition to, start going out and entrenching for more funds, keep us in mind and feel free to contact me or Kevin directly, and we're happy to work with you to help get you not just, in front of us, but get you ready to pitch to other groups and other folks as well. So keep that in mind. And the only thing I'll add to all of the great things Kevin said is, the networking piece is such a huge thing for you as you're, building your companies and starting out. And that's CRAN hopes to not only just be a funding source, but to be a connecting source to help you, meet all of the other folks in West Virginia. And, like, as Kevin mentioned, folks like Mike Raker, who has connections all over the world that may be able to help, and we're willing to do that, but you got to be willing to maybe not always be going after the money, the tangible thing, but go after those connections that can help you get to that next point too. It's almost just as important. And so that's the only thing I'd add to all the great things Kevin said. And if you need anything from me, I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out and I'd be happy to talk with you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you both for your continued support of the competition. You guys are so kind and generous, so we really appreciate it. And we're just going to keep it moving here, and I am going to introduce Andrew Rhodes is up next. So Andrew won the same year as the Iconic guys did. So that was two years ago, right, Andrew?
Correct.
All right, well, I'm going to go. Do you want me to share my screen? I can share it for a little bit and then kind of turn it off.
Sorry, I had to turn off my kegerator. I don't
No,
have,
you're good.
Yeah, you can share the screen there.
Let's show them this picture of you winning. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, so like Tara said, thanks for the introduction. I get to listen there to the end of Kevin's presentation there. Great job, Kevin. Thanks for all the good information. It even helps me as a past winner and still looking for that next round of perhaps investment or how to look for investors. Helps me as well. So so thanks, Tara. So my name is Andrew Rhodes. I participated in the 2018 to 2019 year. And I was thankful that I did not compete directly with Iconic EDU. I was in a different category. So we were lucky that we won our individual categories. I'm the owner of the Neighborhood Kombuchery. We are a kombucha brewery in Morgantown. Does anybody know what kombucha is? Do you drink kombucha? Oh, there you go. Okay, so not really. Okay, so we are Morgantown's first commercial kombucha brewery. We're not West Virginia's first. There's one in Huntington, but we are Morgantown's first. And our business plan was to brew kombucha here using local ingredients and distribute locally in reusable containers, kegs, and glass growlers. And so we started immediately after the business plan, and we're still in business. So I'm going to give you a little overview of kind of the highlights of the whole plan for me and what my experience was like. And hopefully your experience will follow the same path towards winning. But then I'm also going to give you a couple of the drawbacks, a couple of the things you don't see on the highlight on the flashy slide of me winning, the things that set us back and made us think sometimes. So we started this plan. Let's see, you to submit in the fall of 18. So we started over the summer of 2018. We were actually on vacation in New Orleans, and we sat down one day and really started hashing out the plan for our kombucha brewery. We applied to the competition. We so exciting that we made it to the first round. We made it to the second rounds, going through the competition, doing those pitches. I can tell you that it is absolutely nerve-wracking. I was not a good public speaker at the beginning of this competition, and I can say that going through it is what helped me now in my career as an educator now, getting up in front of people and speaking on a daily basis. So it did not come easy at first, but we did learn and improve along the way. So going through the competitions, won some money along the way. We did a couple other side pitches through the what's the center on Evansdale Crossing, Tara?
W Launch Lab.
Yeah, the Launch Lab. We did a couple of pitches there and helped us get some money and refine our pitch and help us out with the competition. And then come springtime, we got to the final competition. We did the pitch. I think I absolutely nailed it, just like Iconic EDU did. We were in different rooms and it was super exciting. The judges were thrilled with our business plan. And it was great all around. And so I have this really funny photo. It's probably out there on Facebook somewhere, me making a funny face when we win the actual money. But it's really exciting when you get to stand up and they give you the massive check. It's really cool to have that. And then after all that hard work that you put into your business plan, then you can actually hit the ground running and start implementing your plan. Because before that, it's just all your ideas on a piece of paper. I don't know how far you've gotten in your business plan. I know everyone's at different stages, but for us, it was just paper. It was just an idea that we wrote down and thought about and did extensive planning. But to actually implement it is the exciting part. And I don't know if there were page limits then. They might have implemented a page limit after me, but I submitted a 35-page business proposal. So that was quite a bit, but at the same time, and probably the reason I did that is at the same time I was working on my PhD in aerospace engineering. So I was accustomed to writing really long proposals and journal papers and stuff like that. So to me, it was kind of just secondhand nature to really make it as long as possible. So that was the highlights. We won the $10,000. We got some extra money from the Zen Starter, which was absolutely incredible. I reworked the finances the day of the competition and said, oh no, I'm like $1,000 short. There's this other product or this other machine that I need. And Zen Starter surprised us with extra money. And that was the money we needed to get that one extra item. So it was quite fantastic. So that was the highlights. The downside that sometimes you don't see, sometimes behind the scene work that you don't see is one, I was working on my PhD. I was doing something else. And that took a lot of time. And so to work on this business competition simultaneously, it was a lot of late nights, early mornings, long weekends. And then even after I won, I still hadn't finished my PhD. So I'd work on my PhD morning all the way to the evening to 5 p.m. And then I'd come to the brewery and brew. And we would brew I would brew from 5 to 9 to 10 p.m. at night. So like Kevin said, you really have to have a passion for this because it is going to try you. It's going to push you through hard times, and you're going to have to do those long nights to brew your coffee, or the retro rollers, I think, are roller skates. To make those roller skates at night, it's going to try you. But in the long run, after you get through it, you do get to have an awesome place like our brewery. So we have a kegerator. We have, let's see here, take a little tour of we have tap handles now, which is really exciting. Let's see. We have this massive kitchen. We have all of our kombucha in little containers. We have a whole stand of these. And then we actually even have these larger fermenters as well. So we have all these fermenters of all brewing kombucha. So we've gone from a business plan on paper to a fully functioning brewery, all in about a year and a half. So it's been quite an exciting journey. Let's see, a couple of things that were the downside. You saw that I won in 2018 and 2019. What you didn't see was I applied and competed in this competition 4 times before that. So I've submitted a business plan for used music, like used CDs, used vinyl records, because I saw this business in California called Amoeba Records, and they had this gorgeous place that sold used CDs. We didn't make it. We worked on a popcorn business for Morgantown, like flavored popcorn. We didn't make it through the competition. I wanted to apply for a composting. So I wanted to take all the leftover food from restaurants, from farms, even from our brewery, and compost that and sell commercial compost. We didn't make it. I submitted something for an online music store, so online retail sales for music. Didn't make it. So that was 4 failures before I actually got to the kombucha idea. And that's what it takes. For some of you, you're not going to win this competition, right? And it doesn't mean that your idea is bad. It just might not be the idea for you, or might not be the idea for this year. So, retool it, revamp it, take the feedback, improve it, and come back next year with the same idea or another one. I also want to say, invest in your business plan. So everyone's writing this business plan right now. I told you I wrote a 35-page, probably a little overkill. You probably don't need it. But make it as thorough as you need it to be. I wrote a business plan, and I estimated our first year of $27,000 in sales and 80% gross profit, right? So I wrote this back in 2018 when we started the whole business competition. We didn't really start our business until late into 2019. So my first full year was 2020, right? 2020, I have $23,000 in sales and I have 80% gross profit. So I hit the numbers right on the head, 2 years ahead of where we got. So that is just the investment, that's time that you do before you actually implement it. So when you're writing this business plan competition, really invest in it, because that stuff will carry you on for many years into your business. Does anybody have any questions right now about the kombucha brewery, my experience? I have a couple other points to make, but I want to have some questions first, and then I'll make my last points. Maybe everyone will try kombucha now that I've introduced you to it.
Well, and last year we used you as that was the gift. We bought gifts from you. So we'd like to support, if you guys have a product or service that is something that we could buy from you in the future, the business plan competition likes to support its own. So I got to try Andrew's kombucha and it was delicious. I had never had kombucha before I met Andrew.
Hey, Andrew, this is Mike Queen. What's your other day job? It sounds like you're a second income entrepreneur. What else are you doing?
I am a second incoming entrepreneur. So I'm also a faculty member at WVU in the mechanical and aerospace department.
Well, that doesn't pay very well.
No, and it's not very time consuming either.
yeah. I was just wondering what else you did, because I know you couldn't live on $23,000, although you're pretty close to what you thought you were going to be doing. Do you foresee this allowing for this to grow, allowing you to move into it full time, or are you going to stay with your day job?
So that's an interesting question, and my wife and I talk about it all the time. So my wife was involved in this competition, although not a student at the time, so her name's not on the documents. But we both have jobs that we absolutely love, our primary jobs as well as our kombucha brewery. So it is very hard for us to decide where do we want to be in 10 years. Do we want to stay with the jobs that we have or the kombucha brewery? And right now we love our jobs and we don't want to leave. I love being an educator. She is a marketing director for a company in Morgantown, and she loves doing that.
I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I think that is a challenge a lot of time for entrepreneurs, that you really don't have to give up that job. I don't want to say that professional job, but that day job. Are you looking for employees? Are you looking for partners? Can you talk about that process for a minute? You're at that stage where the growth stage, it seems you're going to have to make those decisions pretty soon.
Yeah. So like I said, like you pointed out, we hit our predicted numbers for the first year perfectly, or rather very close. So that was great. And so if that stays on track, our next year numbers, we predict $80,000 in sales. And so that will definitely be able to pay all of our bills and pay an employee and have some additional income on top of that. So we did end up hiring one employee that we have with us now, and they do the majority of the tasks. So all the sales, he and I split the brewing. So we're both sharing time at the brewing, but we did have to hire someone to take over some of the other work. But yeah, I did not give up our day job, and that is part of the trying times. So part of the, I like what I do in one job, but I also like my other job. So I didn't want to give it up, but it requires us working late nights. Sometimes it requires working on the weekends. But to us, it's an acceptable trade-off. We enjoy our business. We enjoy the community that's around it. We enjoy our community support. Our friends that come and support us, the people that we've never talked to that come in and say, I heard about you, or I tasted your kombucha from my neighbor's mother or something, and here I am. And so it's great. And that's what we love and want to keep doing. Any questions from you competitors? Yeah, Emma?
I was just curious, like, I know for me personally, I am a freshman, but I'm actually applying to vet school this year. And so it's been a lot for me to just juggle, like, school, getting ready for grad school, and then pet record, of course. And I was just curious, like, what was your secret and like your biggest strategies as far as like juggling all of this, academics and, life as well as being an entrepreneur?
Yes, it was hard. And most people use coffee as a crutch. I used kombucha. Definitely lots of sleepless nights. You definitely have to make sacrifices, rather that it's a sacrifice on the time that you take to the gym, or maybe you like to cook at home, that you don't get to cook as often anymore. And so you have to eat out, or maybe it's a relationship sacrifice that you do. My then girlfriend and now wife, we went through some hard times because we were working long hours and just trying to make this business a reality. And sometimes it gets stressful on time-wise and financial-wise. But the answer is not easy, Emma. It really isn't.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Thanks. I can just go ahead, Tara.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I know that we need to be respectful of your time. So I was just going to see if we had any other final questions or.
Well, I have a few more points to make, but I have, I got plenty of time here. I guess, Emma, I also want to say, like the gentleman before me said, I lost his name and I don't see his face on the screen anymore. Kevin, yeah. Passion also drove us. So, you realize along the path if you really have the passion for this or not, because it will try you. And if the sacrifice that you're making, say that extra sleep or that hour at the gym or whatever it is going to be, and you say that's not worth it to me, that's an acceptable answer. It's an acceptable answer. And you might say that and say, I'd rather do this other things than my entrepreneur for this task. But we had the passion for this. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed our community. And that's what kept driving us the whole way.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. So I got a couple other points to make. Some takeaways that I want you to take with you. So I want you to always keep learning. I thought when I wrote this business plan and submitted it and won the $10,000, I said, I know it all. I know how to make my business happen. I know how to implement it. I know how it's going to go for the next 5 years, because that's what I plotted out. And I realized very quickly within 2 months that I don't know it all. And then throughout the year, I kept hitting problems left and right. We had a brewing problem. Things weren't brewing as fast as they were supposed to brew. So I had to go back to the learning board and scour the internet. Thank goodness for the internet nowadays, because you can scour all of your competitors out there and learn all of their secrets because they let them out online. But I kept learning. And so you have to be a problem solver. You're going to be a problem solver all the time. Every week, you're going to get hit with a problem of, I can't afford this, but I need it. I need this piece. So can I make it myself? Or, I need to sell this product and I need to travel to Charleston. How am I going to get to Charleston? Or how am I going to get this in front of the people who need to see it? You're going to be a problem solver. So always keep learning. Don't assume that you know everything about your business, even though it is your business, because you're going to need to learn more and somebody else knows something that you don't know. I want you to befriend a similar company to yours. So for us personally, we brew kombucha, which is non-alcoholic. We befriended a beer brewing company here in Morgantown, Chestnut Brew Works, to ask them about brewing. We used all the same equipment, but our end product was wildly different. But I was someone that I could ask, what does this piece do? How much does it cost? Where do I get it? How do I clean it? That was an important thing. And so it was really important to have someone that did something similar to me, that I wasn't direct competing with them, and they would feel, feel aggression that I was trying to take over their market. It's not like it at all. So find someone similar to you. If I know that Joe to Go is a to-go coffee company, right? Maybe find a coffee company that is just serving coffee over the counter, right? You can ask them all the same questions. How does this device work? How much do I sell this thing for? What temperature do I have to store the coffee at? Things like that. So because you might not be in direct competition, because they're selling over the counter, you're selling, in cans to go down the line. And my last point is acknowledge your weakness. Weaknesses, really. And Kevin said the same thing. He doesn't want you to lie about what you don't know. So acknowledge what you don't know and just admit to it and acknowledge your weakness. So my weakness was I didn't know the beverage industry very well. Luckily, my wife had been in the food and beverage industry for many years, and she still is. And so that was my weakness was her strength, and she supported us. But then my wife's weakness was that she doesn't know a lot of the technical details about the brewing process, and that was my strength. I have a weakness of accounting. I've been beating my head at QuickBooks Online for the past 2 months, trying to get accounting ready. I'm not an accountant. So for you that are accounting or business majors, I think you have an advantage there. But that is my weakness. And so I shoot emails to an outside accountant every once in a while and say, how do I do this? And I spend long hours on QuickBooks Helpline online. But I acknowledge that weakness and I work towards improving it, because not acknowledging it will grow and it will harm you in the long run. So that's my points. I hope you enjoyed today's long Zoom session. Hopefully you get the afternoon off from Zoom in classes. Does anybody have any questions for me? Feel free to contact me. I'm Tara. I don't have a typing. Maybe you can type my email in there, and feel free to send me an email if you have any questions.
Yes, I'd be happy to share your email in the chat. It's coming right now. And
thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and being open and honest and vulnerable with the students. I think that's really, really important. And we wish you the best of luck. So anyone out there that hasn't tried kombucha, go ahead and try the neighborhood kombucha.
Yeah, so Mike just put a question there. What is the location? So this was also the awesome thing is that we have a location on Pleasant Street in downtown Morgantown. So if you know where 123 Pleasant Street was, or Black Bear on Pleasant Street used to be, we are just down the street, across the street, and we are open Fridays from 5 to 7 p.m. So we're actually open tonight if you want to come down and try kombucha and get some. We're also in many locations are in Morgantown too. So the Grind coffee shop downtown, we are at Terra Cafe, we are at Table 9. Where else? I have a list here.
Are you in Morgantown Brewing Company?
We're not in Morgantown Brewing Company. No.
I wish you were, because those guys won the business playing competition about 5 years ago. So that would be a nice little partnership.
Yes, it was. We talked to them a little bit, and then all the wrenches that life threw at us last year, things got lost in the mess, right? So COVID really hurt business connections, plan distributions, and all that. But we'll look forward to those business connections here in the future.
Mike asked if you had an additional website. I went ahead and I found your Facebook. Is there a different website you'd like me to share?
So we are working on that, and it will go live probably within a week. It is wvkombucha.com. Sorry, I don't have a keyboard. I'm on an iPhone or iPad here.
I got you.
So it's not live yet, but it will go live in a week. The best way to follow us is on Instagram and Facebook. But but yeah, the website would
And
really
I'll
like
be
that.
sure to, I'll share all of that out with them. So on Monday, we'll have the recording done. I'll send out all of the handouts from today and then all of the links that everyone shared. So we will get that out to you guys next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Tara.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And guys, thank you, Mike. So I just have 2 minutes, just quick housekeeping stuff I wanted to let you guys know about. For the college students, don't forget Zen Starter. That's the $20,000 that Andrew was talking about. I think at the time he only gave $10,000. So we're up to $20,000. That will be at large money. So you can win that. I wanted to share the W Launch Lab has offered their new studio, which they just created in the W Evansdale Crossings building. I know that not everyone is in Morgantown, but it is free and they can help you with your ideas. They can give you feedback on your video if you need help editing. They have tips for recording, and this is open to all students. So this is for high school and college students. This is a free resource for you. And I'll include that in that email next week, but I just wanted to make you aware if you're feeling anxious, you can use that iPhone that you have or smartphone. And they'll help you with that recording. Again, if you have any editing needs or suggestions, they'll be able to help you do that. Coaching, final reminder, high school students, you should be working with the Launch Lab right now. Their email is on the screen. They are there to coach you for free and get you ready for the finals. If you have not reached out to them, please reach out to them today. We need to get you working and make sure you are good to go for April. College students, in the contract that you signed, you agreed to work with 3 steps to startup. So you need to be filling out that paperwork. Again, free resource. They are going to help you with your legal side of things. They can help you register. They're going to help you coach, and they're going to be reading over your business plans as well. Michelle O'Connor, that is her email right there. She is the one that you'll be sending the paperwork to, but before they can work with you, they have to have you sign a couple of agreements just for confidentiality purposes. So if you have not reached out to Michelle O'Connor with 3 steps to startup, please do that today. And if you don't remember what you signed in your contract, go ahead and reread that contract. Okay, and just final questions. Does anyone have any general questions?
Yes, for the 3 steps to startup, if we've already submitted all the paperwork that was attached to the link that was sent out a while ago, is that all we need to do for now?
No, you need to email Michelle and say, hey, I just wanted to reach out. Her email address was on that slide, which will go out, but it's also in the contract as well. So just go ahead and make sure you reach out to Michelle directly and say, I filled out the paperwork. What are next steps?
So as long as she has the paperwork, we're okay? Or is she... Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right, gang. Well, thank you all so much. I think this was an incredible workshop. Thank you to all of our speakers. We really appreciate you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to stay on after or shoot me an email. But I hope you have a great rest of your Friday. Bye.